Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Dutiyampi Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Dutiyampi Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Tritiyampi Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Tritiyampi Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Tritiyampi Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Shastai Bhagavan Sathagato Arahan Samyaya Sambuddho Vidya Charana Sampanna Sugata Lokavidanuttara Purushamya Sarthi Shastai Deva Manushyanam Buddho Bhagavan Shri Jin Shakya Muni Namaskaromi Pujayami Sharanam Charana Sampanna Sugado Lokavidanutara Purusha Damya Sarati Shasta Deva Manushyanam Guru Bhagavan Shri Jina Shakyamuni Namaskaromi Pujayami Sharanam Chakachami Good morning. Good morning. Something wrong here, I think. I didn't somebody disturb you, sir.
Maybe I have a little cold today.
The blessing of Bihar, both Gaya, Then, and the inch of Benya. 가슴에 그냥 소리야 탭지 모자 셔래 그렇습니다. 디고리아 그냥 소리. 너도 이제 너도 그냥 아무것도 없어.
So first thing this morning, yesterday I introduced to you a small booklet about the protection of the environment. Maybe I would like to say a few things about that.
맛이 와. 나는 유산 나니 그 유머럼 돌이야. 그 순교된 제외 거래야 계속 시아충래.
Last year at Kajumelam, I had a chance to say some. No? You can't hear? Hello? Last year at Kajumelam, I had a chance to give some instructions, some talks about regarding the protection of the environment. In this book, I have raised 5 points regarding the protection of the environment in this book. First is the protection of the forests and trees, plants. Second is the protection of the sources of water or the rivers. Then thirdly, wildlife protection. And the fourth is about the waste management, and the fifth is about the climate changes.
Today, you some Toma dinner chef, also Miri, Sosa, somebody mina, Sina, and the Cesson, Neberto Bebe, Chashi Chadi on it. Today, you stand Javeda and Pergulia, Yedebe, and Tehu Gonga to Samegi. And Nase, Nazelias, Nase Soyon Chada, and Nase Didi, Casuadaji, Chidu Shadi, Mongo Shada, Tideo Tone, and the Nase Sunjuru, Chet, Kaisen da Pelia, Sobi Mauchilia. 准备给年度的新浪网下来的，我们呢，可是送给你最给蛮些钱，新浪网不，出来的，而且装也装修要的时候，现在第几套里啊，第几片都用在这里。
So. For people, for human beings, as well as for all the animals, the life is the most important thing. And regarding this, both in India and Tibet, I've said that we try to, all the monasteries especially, in Tibet, there are generally around the monasteries, usually there are lots of trees. And before we knew about the environmental protection. Some places the forests were cut, and also sometimes the trees were sold, it seems. And now, as a protection and also to prevent this, we try to prevent the cutting of the trees around the monasteries, and also to plant more.
이번에 energy 공수교차 대한다 표현돼 energy 가서에 매다 치르버츠 third pole 마세 pole 사지마 취는 다디 pole 숨버들에서 안다나신 히말라야 리귤리아 예데베 디규추 거리서마다 거리다 주디디 and Asia maybe Siamon Sone Dan Chiara. Today you sound Dizuli and Aberdon soon you check what the casual drama built Sasson to the Nadian Chadi or today you see the Bazo Shadi and to Mongo Chada. And Danasi Chungo. 충분담도 배 별이야. 답변은 배나 강화로 지도 처음에 이미나 초시리야. 제 강강한 수업에 그 주 시청부 신도대야. 도착돼요. 뒤에 원래 예대배. 고모 샤야래. 나는 시 나도는지 자나래야 마 퍼딩이 초망부지. 아주 배는 수용부에 인도산 되게들이야. 아주 방송 미셔와 차다. 되게 방송 미셔 성래. 되게 계속 샤차돼요.
And regarding the source of the water or the rivers, the Tibet is very important in this case. the scientists these days say that Tibet is the third pole. There's so much ice there that it is like the third pole. And especially the Himalayas. In the Himalayas, there are so many ice and so much snow. And the whole kind of Himalayan region in Tibet is the source of water and also thereby the source of life for millions of people throughout Asia. So therefore it is very important to protect these sources of water and to prevent getting these waters polluted. And also the Mount Kailash is regarded as the beginning source of the 4 great rivers, mostly come to India. And then also there are many rivers from Tibet going into China. And all these rivers have become the life kind of life-giving source for most of the people in a very big area of Asia.
Today, Rida Sumjubcha Palam Yes, and Roshan Alolia, Pelia Anji Toxic Bagua, the Tandujar, the Shore, and the idea who do Galonans, Pajeta Pebeti Pebetame Tandujan, Pungi, in Europe, I made a Samsung. 근데 매네야 그래줘야 근데 좀배는 이주카래 마도 무스체제 중토야래 리리산 뒤체에 단 도너지 에시에게 따당 싱당 디디 가서에 그저 즉 자체 좋아 그저 유 자체도 좋아 인간 섬래요 안 나와도 나 텔레차바이비네 버지지 마르세 방한데 빈제 잡아야 알았어도 그래서 땅 아주지 초지네 참바다 닌지 그네랑 기체 에너지 가서 냠년층이 做냠년층이 이미 차네 마르세 대 아주 자원의 방모도 비비네 다들 되는 아주 삼도당 거에 차요 도나체가 마도 지금 낭매 체제 샤에 로란 세베왕기 에네베 샤사르베 낭매 당사 드야메를 차디요 디나는 초지네다 차소 박소자 샤에 된도 심제 망보수아 디기 다 중국 망보지 배주 당고 디주체도 에네베 가수다 중국 망보지 배주 당고 여빈도 텔레데네 구요를 데네 슈겐 첨부 되게 어려들이 민주사들이 유지는 되네 아주 이제 상당히 처리하는 정도.
And about the protection of the animals, a few years ago in Tibet, it was a custom and fashion to wear skins of tigers and leopards and things like that as decoration. But that, because of the instructions by His Holiness, now there is not very many Tibetans who wear this. It has become much less. And unless they are forced to wear them, there is not much interest of wearing them. And I think this helps a lot to prevent the extinction of these animals like the tigers and some kind of leopards in Asia. And also these things, there's a connection with this to vegetarianism. that even if we cannot completely become vegetarian, it's very important that we have to think about it in connection also with the environment, because when we have to rear these lots of animals like pigs and other animals for consumption, then it is also very clear that lots of natural resources have to be used to feed these animals, and so therefore it has a direct impact on the environment as well.
Tene Shiva deda Kini Golia Guju Jadre Pajita Peva Gobakalia, Digi Golia, Tadabadu, Losu Yabaji Teme, Nizu Mamushachania, Cesar Tizutonia Kazre Combation and Gozuche, and the Tende Mazu Tutulia. Today, Kulia, Zanda Chadam, Kinilia, Kasho Dengzi Chadam, Goro Zuche, Kaligali Chanapa, that pay Zor Kubeji, Himalay Jiguigi, Nambotse, Kuyu Sunjuki, Toria, maybe some would change a board of teacher, Sunju Chatua, the origin. Kuyu Zanda Chatua.
And then fourth is about the waste management. And this is some kind of a movement. It is found out that the monasteries do not have so far a very good kind of training or culture in this case of waste management. So by giving training and kind of example to these, starting with the monasteries first, and then going into the public, and maybe Tibet, and then Himalayan regions, and from there, all Buddhists, they should try to, start to become an example in this case of waste management.
And I'm seeing you know. I'm seeing you know, Zumlin, I should some dotting on. How about to Zumlin to talk on? Himalaya Jiguda and Perzo, you did the layer. Geo Zumbulingi, Sajo, you said. The Nahazi, joy or something. The one be joy. The leaders and teachers and a dene, and that they get that Namshi, Gundoti, Zambulina, Dending, Kashwe, Gundo Chimbuchi, Sasso Yonia, Zambulin Toria, you be Gamu Yona, Gundo Chimbuchi die, sort of cherry into Sangasu, Dending, Kashu, Tizu Shadow, Energy Kashwe, Benergy, Yamji, sorry. And the Jutoria didn't Kashwe, Londina Mare, Kuzuti Tolia, and Kashwe, Dengzin Chia, Chishio, Tijutolina, also Chikashwe, Tiju Jas Chinch, Dotuada, and so gave me in a Karcheta, did the Sanglo, and the child, number of times, Donachi. Also to give some gem of the Dama, the regular double churches, Molums of Jadi on it. Tajin Azuji, Simja Tamji, Dama, the regular Dama Chetuya Jigi, Hogab Salman, Ginchiji, Poyum Vindusa, Tidu, Azuda, Chedon, to you said that, Demaridon, Tidu Tai, what's Madaji, to you am a Simja Dama, the regular Dama Sade. So Samsota, so charge a Devi, and the Joske on us.
And the fifth point is the climate change, and it is found out that there is a a very strong, important crisis or change is going on, and it is in the whole world, but especially in the Himalayas. I'm told that the change is going much quicker and much stronger in the Himalayan regions. Some people told me that maybe about 5 times more quickly the change is happening in the Himalayas. So therefore, these effects, these kind of climate changes are affecting the world, the whole world, and everybody in a very strong way. So therefore, there is also the United Nations. I've heard that the United Nations is doing something strong this year, making some plans, following those instructions or those examples or those leads for us also, and also from our own side, from our individual sides, if whatever we can do, I think it's very important that we should try to do, because we always say, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. But then when it comes for us to do something, to take the responsibility for that, then that time, we find out whether it's really truly that we are saying these prayers from our heart, or actually we are putting that into action, or it's just something that we murmur through our mouth. It's just, it should not be something like that. So when we have this chance and there is to do something for the happiness of the sentient beings and the causes for that, then we should try to work on that. So it's a little bit, that's about the protection of the environment. This morning, I have a little bit of headache, so therefore maybe I will start with some questions and then see what happens. The first question is, listening to His Holiness teachings on CDs and DVDs, has the lung been received? Has the practice instructions been received? Did you hear the questions? No?
No?
You didn't hear the questions?
No?
Yes or no?
Yes.
No. When you listen to the CDs and DVDs of His Holiness, does it mean that we have also received the lung, the reading transmission, and have you received the practice instructions or not?
And also the empowerment. Doesn't need. 다들 그랬으라고도. 다들. 내 도서 전주서 지당이 하나 드린다고 지리야. 그냥 소리야. 就缺龙的缺泻药的龙泻药的，现在讲的天干，internet 举些怎么呢？天干，他说他live 什么的，把灯有。这里就是啥呢？这里的年纪像这我们忙不起，把这年底。但是那样，我那场的钱啊，钱想我得肯定知道。可是钱啊，钱东啊那边，这里的他说数据下的不是这样子嘛？这个里面年纪差不多多啊，那是，对吧？这里就是让天气学的，那么的钱东啊，钱都得。那么的每个通路没通路，看到或者各地比来的钱都马上得。那么的呢，各地就是让天干啊，龙属于这什么得用就是啥呢？那怕就龙个团中或者出于个什么东西。那现在都是当个的 DVD 的 VCD 这个的三个歌都要嘛吧？这里就是啥？那这他说看的时候应该上过去的，但因为呢。也什么的呀？或者，항상 가시래. 개버지. 그랑 가시래. 고쳐 시베레. 그거 미세요. 세마도 public 네트워크에 고쳐야 돼. 그래서 갈아 하면 됐어.
Like for instance, today I'm talking to you. Here is giving an instruction or a long or whatever. And then at the same time, maybe it's also going on the internet. And so therefore, lots of people are listening to what's going on here. Now, the question is, when a teacher is teaching, and then there are kind of students who are listening to that teaching. So if the teacher is thinking that this is, where I am teaching, or where it's meant to, whether the teacher actually sees them with his eyes or not, and there is a kind of a purpose, a deliberate kind of intention, and then I think it could be okay. It could be that they receive it if there is a deliberate. Like the teacher is thinking that I am teaching to these people, and the students also taking part that, whether the teacher is actually seeing them or not. But if it is not that, then I'm teaching here, but people are listening everywhere that kind of happen to listen. This way, whether they get the transmission or not, I don't know, because these CDs and DVDs were not there during Buddha's time, and this is something new, so I cannot exactly say how it works, but I think that if there are deliberate, intentions and things like that, then for some particular people, I think can get transmission through media and things like that also.
시에마도 라메 마치 지두산에 라메 잔 하모 로마지 롱토. 야 로메 저 가르쳐야지. 라메 잔 하모 라메 롱낭 생에서다. 되게 충분히 하고 싶은 거로. 근데 이제 대단 용서만해 아버지.
Otherwise,
제가 드린 주산에 약속 중이나 오늘 전에 체동안에需要약속.
A lama gives a lung and you don't know who is receiving, and then the student is receiving lung, but you don't know from where it's. So nobody knows who is getting and who is giving. So I think it doesn't work that way. I think there should be some kind of a connection that the Lama knows that these people I'm giving lung, and also these people know that I'm receiving it from them, in this time. So some kind of, connection has to be there. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to work.
Kanda thoba sari yusares. Chunga de nendan de na. Ani thoba sari yusares. Thoba sana long thaya kala khawre.
Even looking at the the question, the questioner seemed to have a doubt, whether it's possible or not. If there is a doubt, then usually it doesn't happen.
Okay.
The second question, His Holiness, how the Buddhism understand the fear? Where does it come from? How does it grow in our mind? And how can we stop this?
I don't know which kind of fear.
There's a kind of continuous.
Fear?
Sometimes looks like we are attached to something not so good though very harmful, or we can not stop to think in effective emotion. The English is, I think it must be written by a foreigner, not English speaking.
Courageous.
The yembatin kakarindu. Fear is that jingo.
Yes, thinking as a jisora tawe, jisora tawas, sumiolas. Pumbujibe sola dada tawasa. Jisora tawasa de pumbu karsue pumbungala tenen pumbunge chobajilia da isa. Sidang pumbunga mimangbuchigi. Pumbunga renere da martene, ko chobate da res. This shene aji mamu yongdi aare tene dusa. Pumbunge choba ribunu tene da sa ribunu ji. Samata dusa. Tene jigi be da be riji dodo gong ros ji samata dusa. Tene ji jigda chung jigda yongsa le ya be. Ten zhao ji dodo re se sha rota. Ji ka shuo da ji ngala be poksare. nga nasare sabsandoji karsho ten ram chagu shu sha be indusan ti junzen la ten ko jigjade ran da ribu ates chupachi ba nga zin de be indusan ti junzen la ten ko jigda kya le la bu yong jigda kya de shu chim bu yong kai sarada su su dengzi ate de shu chim bu jibe so da da tene mi junzen la ten ne nga zhe 조 다 집어서 가는 때는 연구하러서나 제대로 등지지 여치 다 독도는 주고 주여치 다들 진짜진 등지 수심을 줘야 인도산 대라 때는 언제시 잡아 대배 라토바 대쇼르도 반도 근데 대나도 반 이제 다 등지 수심을 요구를 설세 들이 인도산에 다 아주 잘 되지 그런데 이제 지소를 다 풍부로디 마지 가서에 고 가서 템퍼먼트 봐 다도 뭐 좀 최제로 된지래야 통체 규모더비 근데 가서다 규모더 브랜드 유진원의 수 초대버려면도 뭐 주버려면도 선발하지 근데 지금 뭐 상부도 처음이미나 규모더 때나 가지다 근데 전 집어깨고 알면서 그 규모더 가서 규매 추니로지 추나가 더 수도 인주산에 콜레베 추나가 나외 순인데지 가서래 콜레야 셈제시라메 되었지 콜레야 가서지 주바슈샤네 콜 폰라스케 엄마로 건 나외 순인 잡시래 근데 인주산 대답을 다 간다 띵주 규마서 동화 처음이미나 지바게 안 됐어 그렇지 용가에는 손도 근데 인주산 지바게 시도 좀 다도 짐바 슈침부지 여버테나 때는 용되면 면로서 신다다 가서 where it come from 되네
두 번째 시기
okay
so ultimately we have this looking at the aggregates as the self. The 5 aggregates, each of them we don't say as the self, but we understand all of them together as I or self. And then we take that self or aggregated self as something very real and something very solid. And because of this, then we have like a fear that this thing that I call myself an aggregate is something that I might lose, something bad might happen to that. So therefore, the fear comes. The fear, the real true source of fear is that, the clinging to a self-identity. Because I see self as something separate, something like a whole, one thing, something that is solid.
Interdependent.
And independent, something independent. So therefore, then that independent self, I fear of losing, I fear of, being sick, something bad happening. So this is the really the source, the true source of all the fears. Now, if we can look deeply into that and see that these aggregates are not like that, not something independent, not something totally solid, not something one, but they're like an illusion. The more you see them as an illusion, interdependent, dependently arising, then maybe there is not much need to have too much fear. If you see, ourselves as or aggregates as like a reflection of the moon in the water, for instance. Now the reflection of the moon in the water does not get damaged. Whatever you do, you can beat it, or you can do whatever. That doesn't really destroy. Nothing is lost. So therefore, when you understand more the interdependent and dependently arising, that kind of, you really deeply get introduced to that, deeply sees that, then there is there's less need or less reason to feel the fear.
Today, you say, "You can't." How far in it? And Jira Shai Marathon. Penangazu Chunjung Kaliha. And Penangaria Gina Tick. Raw, Chuk, do ties it is that. Tadaji Paji, Zabuni Hindaji, less sort of Jungi. Shanatsu Shungi. Tangune Shavina, from Nankalea, Raw, Chuk, do ties, the charity, Kasori, Chigilia, Danny, Kasori. You can't ten Chongaruchi, Kasway. Dead in Reggie, Shanat Savarchi. Shanat Savar Sana, Dakanda, you can't ten Joiba, Yaga Imbata, Yaga Ibena, Uncle Kasway. You can't think you leading water in the sun? That means I call it Shanaja came to. After you look to Koji Lane in the sun, some you remember the chief, which is some Nielan, Kunsang, some Tangho Macho. Look to top job of Jazilia, Stination to get a child, Semlia, Nanda beyond the
So the main thing is to understand clearly the causes and the effects, to really see how things are. That is the very important kind of remedy for the fear. For instance, when I was young, when I was a child, when there is like clouds in the sky and then lightning comes and then the thunders come, I was very afraid. But then when you see clearly that how that is happening, many different things coming together, that it is summertime, there is clouds coming, and then all the different how exactly these things are happening. When you see this, when you understand this, then then you don't have to be too afraid. But all these things suddenly happens and you don't know what's happening, then you have fear. So this shows that the more you understand the kind of causes and conditions and how things really are, then there's less need for fear and less reason to have fear. I think this second question sometimes looks like we are attached to something not so good and very harmful. We cannot stop doing it.
What?
I think although we know that what we are going to do or what we are attached to is very harmful, still we cannot stop doing it.
Let them go. I don't know.
Yes. Then the next question is a little bit long. How to deal with a lot of negativity experienced in my mind due to conditions in India. Physical discomfort causes mental unhappiness. I am no sooner here and I want to go back home to my comfortable environment. This attachment to comfort and cleanliness and non-pollution, crowd, noise, etc., make me feel like I am punishing myself and making myself suffer by coming to India and especially Bodh Gaya. Much back pain, headaches, stomach troubles, etc. It used to be great adventure to come to India, but now brings up more negativity than positive mind state. What to do?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm going to Bihar I already told,
I already told that you had this good opportunity to come to Bihar.
picnic charlie yong be nani. The yong yu jimarism also. The yong be nan, Josan Lumbaji, the Ina Santa, the chance 7 and she there. Pini Tanka Yobina, on a stomach problem, Chabata, Dam the city Sarah, and Kala how Yorba. That Jimarong, Atsugi, Tario, the Sudi, go back on the or Samana, Casual Daji, Semlia, spiritual, someone, 그런 명아선에라도 초안을 드리냐 저도 용으로 봐. 이제 또 대조사 차원에서 장바다 스토마 되게 봐 가서다 충분히 이미네야 다디 그런 디기 차시엔도 디 가서 experience 용아도 디 가서래. 다디 가서래 다디 용아도 지려 봐. 지체 냠용도 지 랑가 냠용도 지 지체. 다 배는 안 하도 좀 손에 가서래. 배는 지게는 수용 주산에 아니 남주나네 용 모델나네 용 릴리나네 용 지치가 대하나시 아니 자가래야 용아래야 지 나사나다 되게 상황을 자가래 용아기비 디 전에 찍으러 지샤마도 지기我是托亚的天马来西，我是托亚的他说的这 spiritual 的这个，他说的这超难的这个名啊的托过，特别是，其实讲平常的来源呢，这是农村生活都是，嘛是讲出来家的那当这一边information 是大家没有啥，这我是托源的，讲出。他最清楚，这嘛呢？印度人开始提啊，如果真正抓，这个地方是对是。
So, most probably, none of you have come here for a picnic. If you came for a picnic, maybe it's not the right place to come. But you came for another purpose. We all came for another purpose, a spiritual purpose, to find a kind of a spiritual experience. So for that, and for that purpose has to be the primary purpose. And then on the way, all these things like cold and stomach and all these problems is a kind of a part of that journey. It's an experience. So for instance, you go somewhere and then you have to travel through aeroplane, through train, through cars. So there are lots of things you go through. But those are just part of the journey, and that's not the main purpose. So the main purpose of coming here is the spiritual experience. So therefore, I think this is what we have to understand. We have to kind of see the purpose, why we are coming here, and then try to work on that. If anybody came here for a picnic, then better look more carefully at the tour guide.
아니, 그냥 안 한다고 처음에 있나? 도시들이 뒤에서写的写的참아 자가를 소소로다. 아니지 가서 교육다 제 장원을 체. Lots of attendance, lots of good food, right? 아니 추드 장와서 지지도서 내려서 산다 지 재미는 섬시다 이내 섬시다 용문도 쓰다 용아도做的 两个 체 아니 망보지 차이에 비인자 변하지 밀을 취시야 미토대샤 망보시 차이에 비인자 되게 디제로도 참참지 나로잖아 서서로 제가 정도다 참참 괜찮은데 나로잖아 디지 가서야 야버지 용사래지 되지 가서야다 오늘 알아 비하를 랩대에 다시 뛰어고도서 구주주의 잔면은 하지다 비하를 내면 하고도 저하를 인주사 비하를 랩에 다시 뛰어고도 선고도 되네 대 용금에도 상상 안들이 인주사 삼성하고 가서야 되게 소소의 셈리야 가와던 좋아한테 되게 힘비가 참바잡이네 대바 겐더지 마도 대 동해 지처 안에 소소지 이비네 야 드제 제제 안 찾아서 남무 주마다 나 가서 장다不钱 가르기 미네야 뒤균 가서에 그냥 지게래 대변은 신들베 가서에다 방아 차면 델레스는 사는 거지 그돈 너돈 겹 라면 채고로마도 Pigay Diabna Sisi, the day Kaswe. Payang Buchi Chibimina, and it Nasamonga and Yangara. Chutis was on Shayama. The Lusan, social child, sound of childers. Yiminia, when you should not dish that. And no this both this day are to ask something to die in a trouble over. As it is.
So, I also, when I come to Bodh Gaya, I also have a little bit, what can you say, fear.
Worried.
I'm a little worried that I might get, sick or I might get cold and all those things. And generally, I have many attendants and good food, and so, and here it's not so much. But, I don't really worry too much because I have so many things to do here. I have to teach and many things. And so therefore, when you are busy with these things, you kind of forget about these things, what might happen and not happen. And sometimes I even feel that, or wish that I should get some sickness. Because then, I would feel that I'm really in Bihar. Then it will kind of make me feel really, truly that, the signs of being in Bihar. But then it does not often happen. But I feel that when you actually, your mind is really happy in the right kind of state, in a joyful way, even if you have certain, discomforts, it can sometimes become like an ornament, not really making you suffer too much. But this does not mean to say that you should get sick. You should not get sick, so please be careful because, it's not the same. Here in Bihar, in India, is not same that in your countries. So therefore, you have to be, you can't do everything that you did there. You have to be careful what you eat and, how you act and things like that. So you must take care about your health. There's another question. Is it really possible to become compassionate by simply deciding to be? That you can test whether it works or not.
You mean
But it is really important to decide from the beginning.
바지 게 미진이지난 바지 게 고래체 냐만오지 근데 뒤좀 사가면 대가나 봐 주시고 아 이제 다 줘야 돼 계시므로 이미랭에 다 줘야 제가 잡시거든 요한도 가라 하셔 가래사나디 잠니지 거도 되지 내가 넣으시마로 내가로 지미는 다 지기 지기 있어 다 줘 제잖아 지금 좋아하는 지 렌스 잠니지 사데 7월 치는 렌스를 제하는 고 자라는 스타스게 니 집이 유리 깨버쳐 유리 깨버쳐버려 빨리 가서 이제 림버티소 가서 남기 림버티소 봐 내냐 문주 림버티소 내냐 당시 아니 유리 오늘 참에 니지 누구야 사면으로 집에서 인지 자유께서
Although this making decision is important, but it seems that first you have to understand, first you have to reason, why it is important to have compassion and why do we need to be compassionate. So this understanding becomes very important. Unless you have that understanding, if you just say that I will be compassionate is not enough, because it's not same that, like compassion and things like that is not same as doing something. doing some work, for instance. So if I have to do something, then I say, I will do that, and then you just do it, go ahead and do it. But this is not work, it is an attitude. It's a way of feeling. So therefore, it is not something you just say, I will do it, and then it happens. It has to be based on a clear understanding why and how it should be, and So when you have that understanding, you develop that reasoning. Why it is so important to be compassionate and why it is necessary to be compassionate. And then maybe you arrive at a place where, you have a more positive doubt that there is a choice. If I'm compassionate, it will be like this. If I'm not compassionate, it's like that. And it is maybe more important, it's better to be. I feel, it is necessary, there is some necessary to be compassionate. And then when you have that understanding, and that's the time you need to decide, yes, that's right, I should really be. And not just like that.
Yeah, more.
No. How do you explain reincarnation to people who are completely unfamiliar with Buddhist logic and teachings or concepts? No. What is exactly transforming emotions in Vajrayana? For example, how do we do it in Shenesic sadhana and practice?
Okay. 상계의 최사의 가로 심규 팀세와 차버지가 최스기의 인자 상계의 차시에르네 가서 용무원님으로 maybe 자완의 maybe 말했어.
So, Buddha Dharma is to clear all the impurities of the mind. So therefore, there is nothing in the Dharma which is not directed to clear or to purify our kleshas, the negative emotions and disturbing emotions. There's nothing in the Dharma that's not, directly an antidote for the negative emotions and kleshas.
대래야 참섬 가셔야지 뇌샤래야베 도도 가 참섬 도도 가서면 뇌샤 하는데 도탄이 가 도도是가셔야 왜 도탄보체 도탄보체를 뇌샤 도탄보체를 말까야 참섬이야 고 뇌샤 네 당 세당 도탄보체를 가 디가야 참섬 공도 시에베 녀모니부 테레 띠무 토도가 토탄보체를 가 근데 마음용이가 그래서 뭐 드레인두사나 거랑 가서다 녀모 숨들이야 급소소리야 그러고 로이 유바다 뒤인데 아니 준비 체제 거랑 가서요 녀는 지나 주어라서
So, but then sometimes, in some teachings, the attachment is the kind of main target, or it's very strongly dealt with or worked on the attachment. And sometimes the main kind of practice or the main target is the aversion or anger and hatred. That is the main target, and that is the most important thing to deal with. And then sometimes it's not these two, but the ignorance as the main kind of practice, and then you deal with or work on the ignorance as the main thing. So according to the stages and according to the different type of teachings or different people's kind of needs, there are different, practices or different different kind of methods are used at different teachings and levels.
그래서 내 당부 지당 토는 셈이나 미망부지기 내 당부가 되죠. 뇌샤래야. 그래서 녀몽을 야 유여체 녀몽을 봐 저주수 저네 유여통치하대 직송을 안해서 엔 다나신 양고 가라간 좀지 레듀스는 녀몽보다 반증 방자의 녀부 유제의 반증아지 송을 안해서 되는 가라간 좀 순주사는 고 유제네 로인류밥에 수술을 숙침부 총회 겁니다. 하버도 시르고 텁시배 텁시 용조를 차연주산 용모바고랑 조수구니 파 가서야지 용모바 조수구니 대표주다 지송을 하면서 근데 인주산은 뒤준세는 되네 용모바 사대 가서야지 도도를 제가 강갈로 뒤지리야 가와스케 요만해서 조조다 수술로 연주가 되네 얘네 아주 방스수수술이야. 조다 용모 도숨 되기들이야. 근데 준비해 제고 스텝 바이 스텝 somewhere. 컴파리션도 보여줘 가지고 봉수지 용거 알았어.
So generally speaking, there are three ways of dealing with the mind poisons. In the first, for the beginners, we try to evade. We try to kind of evade from the mind poisons, not get attracted to that, or kind of to kind of go around it and not get too much involved with that, to run away from that. That's the first stage. And second is to actually fight against it, like really waging a kind of war on it, So therefore, you really challenge it and, work directly with it. That's the second stage. And then the third stage is when your wisdom becomes much more clearer, much more stronger. And then you use the skillful means. And at that time, when you are much more stronger, that you can actually challenge and kind of and make war on this, attack the negative emotions. Then you find a way to even use that as a friend. You take it not as an enemy, but take it as a friend, and then use it in a certain way that it can become very skillfully used to work with it. So therefore, there are different levels, different stages, and this one has to work on it step by step.
sorry. Döshale ye kaza ji shebe le nusan de dösha de to so de shi ge de me so de nusan da ba ji chwa de le de ne de nge sha de teaching de ba ji de chang sa.
So yesterday also we talked a little bit about this attachment. So maybe how to work with this attachment and anger and different kind of negative emotions. So I will talk a little bit about this, and maybe this question can become the subject of my teaching this morning.
Kasin dösha she ju sa ne. Dösha sa de be khashu ji 담증증 되지 요아래서 가르스나 사실 뇌사의 망신 뇌사가 생활들이야 사실 다부자 다부자 지불이야 와야기 삼도 쇼좀 스타일이었어 아니 이제 나랑 지불이야 네 이동한데 나랑 지불만 신다지를 잡이나 로마대요 이래데 뭐가 되죠.
Yesterday, when I talked about the attachment, I said that the attachment has something like a closing thing, like a holding on strongly, like a clinging, something like a clinging. That is because attachment has that aspect that this is something very nice. I must have it. And I alone must have it. Nobody should have it, or others should not get it. I should get it. It should be completely mine. So therefore, there's this that aspect is naturally comes with that the sense of attachment.
Bana 사상이 들지면나 디기 가수에 디나는 답변하지 교관들이 다 제면신다지리야 개셰비나 대지안 제면 지당한테 뭐 제면사는 인가 제면사 쓰기 시작합니다. 다 가는 라고도 보면서 알면 드리들산 디 텔레야 아니 대 지도 되면 지리야 개셰비나 세는 막아되죠. 디디 개자시에 딜 텔레야 개자 망보시에 들으시듯산 대 섬리야 마대완로지디 대 계절시에는 저기매 소사로 그런 체동 안에 성로마다나 지sem라 정신기지 사야지기 지 삼로디 대 가서 막아버리더니 용도 드레인 유산 다나 되게 바지 내자임 오늘 전에 예 삼벌이야 자와사의 미지질의 자와차디 오늘 제심 예비나 미리 제심 예비나 제심 지슈의 랑완자야 되죠. 마도 미리 다도 손을 배 고베 교자는 감미줘야 돼. 제심 저서가야 봐서 제심 원의 차비는 구양자 마라 자와 예비 준생기 늘려야 배 강 대화 강거바 들려내야 말한기네야 네 거발이야 가서 이세체 들려야 지속 거발이야 가서 잡교르시 근데 자지래 자와서도 마도 소수마도 뒤 상월로 배 고르지 받담 소수 되반은 시크치 고여만 그렇지 근데 자데 자왕원에 저 아이네스 근데 자왕원에 예비나 가서 구양이 해야 돼 봐. 구양이 해야 돼 그렇지 버지고 오르서 근데 충분히나 거 자와서도 버지 가서 지당체는다 뒤규 그 사상으로 체제도 사는 거 다도 숨이 그러나 가서 신다파시하는 배는 아주지 균노르티서 있네야 수수 균노르티서 있네 단들 때야 인다 세배 서이 겸담을 제사 다도 숨어를 비제디 이미는 셈을 땐데 가서 구양은 남바지 매비미나 배는 되샤르시 배 세베르시 슈츠부 차비미나 김사대 디지시라 깔아 하시라네 그래서 지기질이야 담당진진을 쌓는 뇌마다 민주산 다 간제스 가서 다지 대지 치료리아 치미네 지 마대야르지 신다르 게셰비나 마대야르지 뇌어디도 민주산 디균센을 때네 구양사디 자왕문의 여비미나 딜라 강가와다 강 끼버디 맞으바 구양때 디게때 샤드는 지 구하라서 근데 유사 디균센 때네 뇌사 지당기 가수에 그래 사상핀주의 미네야 뇌사 관에베 냠도 대비미나 기분 아까 합샤です가수에 장화매베 처리는 근데 뭐 구양 반야로 지당기 르미 동화신이 예버체 자와진이 예버체 이베이네야 아니 셈리야 빈주지 지기질 자와 예베 균진데 자와 인비 균진라 때네 구양 돼야지 디기다 자와사디 소소리야 강거바 나라 디고도 네 로라 파버사 디조메 니 다 디 랑왕데 조체 교제데 조체제 아주 구향지 잡이나 제가 지금 내가 제가 딘데 체장 아주 교화 다 얘기했습니다.
So if I give an example, suppose there is a couple and they are in love and they're kind of together, and then suppose one of the couple, say the husband, is seen talking to another lady like more beautiful, then what does the wife think? Even if she doesn't say something, she kind of feels, and that is like attachment. It's coming from the attachment. The love attachment is something that is, me is the most important. It is for me. It's my own. I own this. It doesn't give freedom. It's like closed. It's like not allowing space. The love is not like that. Love is giving freedom. It's not just I want it and I like it. This is only for me. It's not like that. It's more giving freedom. It's wanting, the happiness or the joy for the others. Whatever the one whom you love wants, that you support and that you try to give that person. It's not that sometimes then attachment also happens that this is my person or this is my love and my wife or my husband, so therefore he or she should do whatever I want him or her to do. He should say and do things that they have to do according to my way. That is not, that's also kind of attachment, because it's me, and it has to be under my control and within my way of doing, and as I want it. So there's no freedom. There's no. Of course, there has to be, when people get married, for instance, then there is a sense of mind. There's a sense of togetherness. There's a sense of belonging. You also want to give him or her all your belongings, and you make even signs that everything I own is owned by the both and things like that. But then it's not just like craving only. It's not only mine, but and if you do that, if that is the attitude, then it is very, very difficult to have a happy life together. Because both is only thinking of me. And so therefore, what I want and what I own. And then it's not giving space and freedom to each other. So therefore, the love has to be more freedom and giving and allowing each other with that sense of belonging and also the love, but at the same time, giving freedom and openness. So therefore, this, if you understand like that, then I think you will understand the problem of attachment. And then you can see, the love and attachment can be understood in a proper way.
가셔야지 콘도사를 뉴사래 아주지 가셔야지 샤당 이나 샤당고 넘규세요 스타트 그거 넘규데 가셔야지 바다 연변에 커야지 쭈주에라고디 오늘 교육도 하고 문세터 그에게 현샤라고디 괜찮아고디 문세터 스타트 지 바다 연변에 커야지 넘규된다데 깨지셔나 되게 상황도 쭈주지 이거지 中文一般讲啊是，南山三不哈口头多， Tene DB Junsen, Hodis Kasu Kap Moshia, Shedanki Kasue, Zumju, Zumutimba, Moshia, Lenabs. Yina Datima, Kate Chadi, Dende Kasue, Days Kasueji, Sebasama, Dings Kasueji, Susu, Tondros Dizzy, Tonsama, that Dizzy, Semlia, Get Chimposage, Peggy, get Chimposage over. The good. Karasanata, Samsung as a corner which it is up in a mission, Nibju, Chetusa, Teneji, Kasua, Mindin Ring, I share those sorts of touching, Semia, Chwata, and touching, Mashen, Ranshe, and D. Mabe Minum Ju San, Takala, Nalayan, Kue, Yesu, those sorts of Tansha, the G, Kasua, Majecha, whoever of Chimaching as some sort of Toyo. Today you start teaching Zena Dene, as you tea, whoever you but Toadi, as well discount of chair. Some sort of only whoever you but and D, and yes, you share to Chesa, Condola, whoever you but the Toadi, Shedan, do some Kadeja, the Kalahashet, Teresha. I even a case should be Kasue. Kasue, that Sedania, Kadeja, Contus, and Kadeja, Kadeja, Maushaya. Some of Sosu, Randogi, Kadeja Motovine, Randogi, or Nimbo Dension, Kadeja Motovine, Tituzu Mary. Jijana, Lama, Sosugi, Guru, Lama Nini, Guru, Lama of Chigi Tension. D. Torambe, Magemaji, Contomaji, Sujo, Subsanity, go to do some Lamsan, some General Shavina. Just an Arango Guru, Lamet de Sucho, some teleba kind of excuse to be chen. The legend some days my Shuale. Yana Susugi, Gasher, Surup, Susu Gasher, Surup Dabaji, Narone, or the little Susha, Chesanga, Jimmy, Sosachi. Tandonati Susugi, Zawayu, Gawayu, Tidiji Shadow, sometime you son, Tigi, Domroti, Shandol Dene. Kadeja to a Jim with Susha.
The aversion or aggression is basically getting anger, and that's very clear because when you get anger or aggression, then you make a very clear, expression, either by your face or your body language or your speech. It becomes very kind of a rough way of acting. So therefore, it is not difficult to recognize the anger or the aggression when it comes up, the aversion. It is easy to recognize this emotion. It's very not so difficult to recognize this. But as regards to how to work with it, how to find antidotes to that, then we said that we have to use patience. But then sometimes we have this feeling that this person did this negative thing to me, and so therefore he insulted me, or this did this and that. So therefore I have a right to be angry. I have to, I must. It's good. I have the, it's right to be angry and to be aggressive because of these reasons. So when you have that kind of a way of seeing, then it is very difficult that I find myself as the most difficult to deal with regarding the aggression, because you find it very reasonable. You find it that you really need to react in this aggressive way or an angry way. There are, of course, many different ways of dealing with that. And sometimes, if you cannot directly work on it with your own understanding or with your own, if you have your own understanding why I should not, be aggressive and angry and aversion very clearly, then it's very good. But if we can't do that, sometimes it works if I can think about some other reasons or some other ways, like excuses in a way. That if I suppose I have a very genuine like master, a lama, and then, immediately when I get aggressive or angry, and then I think about that. I think about that lama and said that this lama, told me not to get so much angry and things like that. So therefore, when I can think about that, and when my attention is kind of diverted to that, sometimes, it gives me a good, time or good effect that I can work, I can let go of the anger. And also, like instructions, good books. If I have certain instructions or certain books or certain, teachings, that's very impressive or that's very true or that inspires me a lot. When I can think about those also, it helps me.
공로에 축축셔. 데네두산 인지 미버도 카페시 로토고야 시작했어. 데네두산 공로 미버지가 돌아야 공로 사용도나. 내게는 공로 사를 망하지 봐 되네. 가서 데네 안 되지 지금도 내지 공로 사고도 주소도 되지 망하지 써야지. 나는 지 공로를 지세. 안 타마타마 데두산 소수가 가 봐. 가서 지금도 써서지. 이게 지 상으로 다지지. 간단하지 공부디 미버 찌게 된도ပဲ 공부 무투니 상무 주시지 가사 이산에ပဲ ဒီနေ့ 지금도 소소하지 공부 사서도 망고 써야 있나 안 공부 사를 찌게 누버 도도로 찌게 지모도 인유사네 누버 찌게는 누버 템포도 줄모도나 저그랬어 안 공부 텔라 되는 레소 소마레스 시마도 미버 찌게 돌이야 공부배 균내는 고치비 있나 안 공부 차로지 아니 지금 가라이나 봐 지금 전도야랑 용아가 너무 좀 돌아야 배 아닌가.
Another thing that helps me a lot is not to allow to focus only on one point or one person or incident. Like usually, we get angry about something, and then our mind is totally concentrated or focused on that. And then we again and again think, how bad that is and how negative that is, and so we are only on one point, and then our anger becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and then we have to do something about that and act something. So instead of focusing on one thing or one point, if we can kind of divert, if we can let our mind feel the same with other things, kind of shift our attention or focus on many things, even with anger. For instance, I'm angry at this point, and then I say, this is also not right, so I'm angry at that, and that is also not right. So my anger can go to many places, then on myself too, and then on. So when that happens, even if on anger, even the concentration or kind of emotion is anger, if I concentrate or focus on so many things that I'm angry about, then somehow my anger becomes kind of less, because it's not solid, it's not focused on one thing, so it doesn't continue with that. So therefore, after some time, you kind of your mind is kind of this, there's so many things that you kind of need to be angry about, that you don't need to be too much angry about that particular thing. So therefore, it's very important that we we kind of try to shift our focus of the concentration from one point or one person to many other things. And that I find it very useful.
And umadi miji ko karsho daji lu bangbo jayales ta lu ta lu khashe je ko lu tisu khala mani oma shorba oma shogu de sa lu tisu khala mani phasa ke de ko be khon ro san de be lu khashe dong de san ta ko lu sang ma jik dong she de san chang ma zhuo zhuo wa de ko ji khon ro se de san khasa yi dong de lu sang lu ja cha ma be de san ngab ju 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 de dong se khran ka le kan bi ge ka she ji wu ri ji he ja khran khon ro de xi de seng de san ge mo ri ge de 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 ne de san de ne xi lu ka she ji ma da me da ko ba dong de ba ji sai sha ning lo ta lu ja cha ma bu de su de san ne 다 갈라서 동다 가랑 갈래를 지카는데 그게 예대라네. 대나시 가서 이제 가서 콘도스 찍서도 산 호텔으로 시시 가서 있어서도 산다. 지제 디제르면 다 가라 하는 데 대야르시.
There was one man, a kind of a shepherd, and then he had lots of sheep to look after. And these sheep were not, doing what he wanted. He had to milk those sheep, and then they didn't kind of behave very well. So they were, running around and, jumping and things like that. So it was very difficult for him. So he was very angry. So he hit the sheep. He hit the one sheep, and then all the other sheep got even more wilder. So he hit many sheep. So, he was beating the sheep, but when he beat like 50, 60 sheep already, he got so tired that he was like, he was exhausted, and then he was a little bit angry with himself, and then he had to laugh, and he just, he had to give up being angry too much with the sheep. So if he had only one or two sheep, maybe he would have been so angry that he would have, beat them to death maybe. But because there are so many, and he had to concentrate on so many, that he couldn't continue to be, angry. So it's a little bit like that, so if we kind of divert our attention of anger to many things or to many areas, then, that can also help us to let go. How can we understand the ultimate nature if we only have the tool of relative?
군주들만 내려다 전화받으면 또 나 군주만 이게 다 되려야 베랑 아주 되다 군주 공여버려야 되네 그 돈나면 되면 드시죠 베랑 아주 되다 벤 딘중기 군세할 때네 그랑 가셔야지 된다면 드시잖아 지 용용이 요래 다들 딘중사데 구조 토하네 봐 계셔만 된다면 아주 딘중기 대화는 있어야 딘중스는 사는 통문을 되는 정보를 되는 통 다자 통문 이바 되고 정보지 이야기를 되는 그 통문을 샤버로 봐도 정보 매매 통시 용다며 안에 통문이야 정보를 되는 샤데 샤로 누자 초시 이게 돼 샤라 되는 가서 다지 샤라 되는 노 호라 되는 장사를 다들 내가 봐줘 샤를 용거 디주사 디주센데 떼서 떼죠 토네 요데 요인도사 디주센데 지게 죄는 떼바 인상让와요让와사데让와도 주버지요 아주 데 freedom 사데 자 인스마다 让와도 주버사데 그런 가셔지 자완이는 마对不起的平时去가셔 아주 뜻지 가셔야지 봐 풍부하지 통연 주상 풍부사데 나수파 풍부세 쪼다와다 나수파지 풍부세제 가 쪼다와데라 맞아봐 풍부사데 유경원의 수에 삼아도지 아주 놀래야 샤이 그냥 원리주 토래야 나수가 쪼다와데 매입니다 풍부사데 유경원의 수샤데 매 배나다당 아주 여기 가셔야지 배나 퍼버지 나눠려야 그래서 추실 루입니다 추들 루벌에 대 추들루或者去掉tun지 니버지 여버지당 안가수에 가서 그런 추掉통 대체 이제 가서 추보로 제제가 민으로부터 가서 더 다에 두사 추보시 유기 그 주도 나 다나시 야 동기 뒤순산 뒤가려야 자주 루상 양 거기 추보의 잡아차 대용들도 네 주산 뒤준산 때네 때네 당번이 비준산 때네然后就要嘛然后就주보 왜 동반이 있어야 돼. 동반해야 돼. 장황 그 유경원의 집에 동. 아주 가서 딘중 낭점. 这个对呢.对吧zam실에 되네. 그 낭점 쉬워. 배는 아주 여기 주난가 나와디. 주난가 나와디. 나외 그 나와디 그 유경원의 집 나외 나와디 상. 다 대양 거나 남가는 더 수요야 와다. 에너지 가서 원래 추여와다. 아니 추이나도 되네 더수 셔롱이바. 아서 비교긴데 망보지 처벌해야 대세. 다외 손이 샤워를 마도 디기디 딘중기 코르 찍어 내미나. 다외 손이 샤워를 말았어. 디주산 디주산을 되네. 그런 딘중이발을 되네. 동리샤대. 동리시도상 동바사야 되고 가르이나야 가서지. 정신 초토도 좋으면 가르이나야 낭도로 인상 동바라. 동바 인상 동바 고마가바 소마라 드리지 이비 인상 된주고 나와나도 차도록 차대요 알았어. 드리비 인주산에 배는 가서 여기 배는 오면 가셔야 도 여기 돼야래 오면 가셔.但이네 그 두个人心都그런 유기 문에 수 두个人心都주되어입니다. 그 두个人心인바 체제 되어입니다. 미래이나 두 내배人心的 요거래. 심신 신달에 내배人心的 요거. 이번에 심신 신달에 되게 패배 정신을 유도하다. 에너지 밀려 서봐라 내배 정신을 유도하다. 그 유기 문에 두세 내배 정신 속도도 주대বে 速度不怎么样去。这个语言忙不起的对就是俺写的图都像俺写的面都差，但是用的话，这里就是第一在的速度都没有。我有过的没有，这个团的，当然俺就工作点这个那不是安的了呀，对呢。 동반이 사디 지 과를 내주산 과샤를 안도 마다 꾸주 된지가 남사데 파방네 동반이 사지 과네 버시면 대 과네야 차단 유한이나 가면 해버지야 동반이 있으래서 그 최탐제가 신 동반인데 최탐제 다다 아주 미기 통하는 그 동반 잘합니다 나하고 아주 섬은지 이제랍니다 그러나 동신도 낭낭신 동대야디 오늘 가서 디베 터도리 집에 가르쳐야 돼. 원사심부터 데려다 와. 그래서 띵중기 준센의 상담에 유사 안 동분이 돼. 삼토가지 용거를 삼토.
Of course, you have to understand ultimate truth through the relative truth. Otherwise, there is no basis to understand that. Now, this we have to. When we talk about the ultimate nature of things, it has to be understood through the interdependence nature. Through, for instance, everything is dependent, interdependent. For instance, when you say or when you think about something short, then it is relative to the long. Something is shorter than that. It's related to something else. And if you say this is long, then also there is something. There must be something that is shorter than this. So therefore, that is long. It doesn't exist anything called short or long on its own. short and long, are relative to others. So in the same way, when you think about East, we say East because there is West. And West is based on the East. So in the same way, South and North and all other things. So there is nothing that cannot be established. Anything cannot be established unless we, kind of base it or we relate it to something else. So therefore, everything is interdependent. Like for instance, we say this is something like a cup or a vase or something like that. Also, for us, generally, we feel that vase or that thing is there on its own. But when we think about vase, unless we make this designation that there is a vase, the vase doesn't happen. We first say this is vase. There has to be vase like this, like this. So this is a vase, and then the vase is. So there is lots of attribution or contribution from our side. Designating the vase is creating the vase itself. So therefore, when, for instance, we put water in it, something, and then it becomes the water container water bowl or something like that. And if you put tea in a bowl, and then that becomes the tea bowl or tea cup or something like that. So therefore, it was not tea bowl or not water bowl before we put water or tea. So it's dependent. So that kind of, dependently arising and dependently designated. So when we talk about emptiness, we are talking about the interdependence, so dependently arising, dependently designated. And if there is no, because there is nothing which is existing on its own, which is kind of independently existing, without, related to or without some kind of designation or without many other parts or many other conditions coming together, dependently arising. Therefore, the nature of things is emptiness. When we talk about emptiness, it has to be based on the understanding of the relative things. Even when we say, the reflection of the moon, the water moon, the water reflection of the moon on the water. And now that is the water, the moon that's reflecting the water is kind of not existing on its own. We can see that there is nothing there. But then that happens also because of many reasons. It's an interdependent arising. There has to be the moon in the sky, there has to be the water there has to be, the reflectability of that in the water. And so when all these things come together, then you see the reflection of the moon in the water. So therefore, that is emptiness. Emptiness and interdependence has to be together. Because everything is interdependently arising and interdependently designated, and there is nothing existing on its own independently, therefore the nature of everything is emptiness. But because everything is emptiness, therefore, everything is interdependent. Everything is possible. Therefore, that is the emptiness and interdependence kind of go together. And also, we think that everything is just as it is that we see there, but it's not always like that. When we think about even like poison, we say poison is very dangerous and very bad. It's very negative, something poison. But there are lots of poisonous plants that if you eat, if a human being eats, they will die. But if some other animals eat, they don't die. It doesn't become, it is not a poison to them. So therefore, is that poison or poisonness is really existing on its own? If it exists as it's on its own, then it should be, killing everything. But it doesn't necessarily kill everything. So therefore, nothing is there on its own as it is. It's all interdependent, and it's all, dependent and arising, and therefore there is ultimately its emptiness. So therefore, if we don't combine these things together, understand this in this way, the emptiness or the ultimate truth is understanding of the relative truth and how we actually understand the relative truth. If we don't do that, then if ultimate truth has to be something separate and something totally, not based on the relative truth, then that becomes like nihilism. It's something out there, everything is not there, something like that. So this is not the case. It has to be, and that is the wonder. That is the most wonderful thing, is this togetherness. The things are, empty in its nature, but it's interdependently arising, and therefore it's empty. And so therefore anything is possible. So that is the most wonderful, nature of things.
Last question. Yeah. Last question is empty.
So that's maybe all now.
Oh yeah.
There are more questions, of course.
Yeah, maybe this is not last questions. There are more questions. Okay. Sarvapapasya garanam kushalasya upasampada swarchitta parayavatapanam etat buddhanam chasanam taragati tipo maya vasya buddham savanam cha vidyutapram cha evam dashtavya sanskritam anena punayena tu savadrashita mavapyanirichitya cha doshvidivishya jararoja mityo mahormi sangulat samudareyam bhavasagara jagad badu savamangalam. King
Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Dutiyam Api Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dutiyam Api Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami Dutiyam Api Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Tritiyam Api Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Tritiyam Api Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami Tritiyam Api Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Shasta Bhagavan Tathagato Arahan Samyak Sambuddho Vidya Charana Sampannaha Sungato Lokavidanuttaraha Purusha Dhammya Sarati Shasta Deva Manushyanam Buddho Bhagavan Shri Jina Shakya Muni Namaskaromi Pujayami Sharanam Jagachami Shasta Bhagavan Tathagato Arahan Samyak Sambuddho Vidya Charana Sampannaha Sugato Lokavidanuttara Purushadamya Sarati Shasta Deva Manushyanam Buddho Bhagavan Shri Jina Shakya Muni Namaskaromi Pujayami Sharanam Jagachami Shasta Bhagavan Tathagato Arahan Samyak Sambuddho Vidya Charana Sampanna Sugato Lokavidanuttara Purusha Dhammya Sarati Shasta Deva Manushyanam Buddho Bhagavan Shri Jina Shakya Muni Namaskaromi Pujayami Sharanam Jagachami.
The earth is perfumed with scented water and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, sun and moon. Visualizing this as the Buddha realm, I offered it, so that all beings may enjoy this perfectly pure realm. I pray that you turn the Dharma chakras of the lesser, greater, and common vehicles in accordance with the thoughts and various intellects of beings.
Ayeke dalu dami yake rumu dami yake na rogu nye 아니 지전의 동양의 도시잖아요. 오늘도 저아치는 체제. 지전은 내주지 돌아야 뒤주지 뭐 오셔야 되나? 그냥 옆으로 잘지 용식으로 와. 인도스나 파티바 규르지. 도시는 좀 그래서.
Maybe we can continue with the questions and answers because if I talk on one point for a long time, maybe you'll get bored. So the questions are various, so therefore maybe it's better that we answer those questions. There are lots of questions, so we have picked up some of the interesting ones. The first question we have selected is, how do you explain reincarnation to people who are completely unfamiliar with Buddhist logic and teachings or concepts? The reincarnation, that took the university, then it shoots and Nishikechi condition.
Too much sign. I don't know.
The reincarnation. How do you explain reincarnation to somebody who doesn't have any Buddhist culture, logic?
아니 다들이야 부디스 가저 로직 슈스 원에
Buddhist logic 하무고 괜찮아.
오네
Buddhist 그 background 하무고 괜찮을 컨디션이스.
지당기 교황을 지사리 이 부디스 로직도 시라메 비셰 지당기가 아주 초연함이야 아주 초아중다로 지셰비미나 소수에게 가서니에서로 지세미에서로 되지 아니 란다 카테도 사네 되베 텐도 차원으로 지리야 지당나다 란다 카테사 카테사로 디니아 통동지 텐도 카테하면 임베지 송부로 당동지 가르 스미유세라 가서 넘버 쉐버서는다 라스는다 그래야지 송부를 지여버지 상매지 답은 미리 망보지기 배나 가서다 수균나로도 수용되게 하네 용도의 균센데 수균상도 맞습니다 디산들이 용되게 하네 내 세문나를 지금에서 세문나 송부에서 이렇게 싫어 그 가라서는 카체들 때는 매바지 아주 삼이나 삼 유튜브 다 늦지게 랑기 가서니서지 때도 카체가 자원은 요마르스 루비사 디삼 유튜브 삼 미회방 드리비 직처럼 드리비 미지 상례 나는 단통이 되지 손보로 주의해서 띵어도 좋아지 고고도 근데 매미나 아주 배 동해도 친구 오네 드리비 산다데 빠지지 가서다 경험하지 예매 제제고 가서다 남배기现在嘛现在话因为我们这个人性别超越哪里呀这用的话这就是啥呢对对가서에 대지체 니버데 저블링 돌이야 디상 나주 나주 타제샤 나주 오르시샤 대정도 맞습 니주 상상 무용디 가래 다버도 신이 되지 야게 두사네 니주 나르 고규리 발라 디상베 가셔야지 나한테 좀 드시게 통게 대처하래 니주사네 나주 다더버도 베 타제샤 성로리야 이세체 제방 나가는 저분이 고교 니주 망고지에 민주사 아주 드시 겸도 망고지에 민주사 티 그전에 되네 아주 타지도 지경을 지사로다 안다르지만 내도 망고지야 가서 티좀 기시르지 마도베 타지도 되 매버레체 지시해야 돼 디스칼라 하고 도스도스 안 하와도 디선 정리 돌이야 지경을 것이 챙기기 근데 다 집에 아무 용도 안에 때 아주 남바지고 말해 구유 민자 진짜 우리 구유 민자 지주 나로리야 니 민자 수수 나로리야 용도 안에 근데 되게야 아서지 가서요 진짜 물린기 가서요 다당 아주 지금 드시 겸비도 니주 상황다 근데지 차이야 봐 샤르지 마도베 타지등에 니들에 내 말에 제시 셰트야 매매 수없이 다 근데지 차대 걸었어
Generally speaking, when we talk about the reincarnation or rebirth or life after, for instance, not just from the Buddhist point of view or Buddhist logic, but generally, then one thing which is very common to most of the people, regardless of what are their beliefs or not, that we feel that when somebody dies or when somebody is dead, we feel that they are somehow still present somewhere. And we don't feel that it's kind of possible to have completely gone or completely separated from us. We have a very strong feeling that there is still something kind of lively or alive or something there, because most probably we do not want or we can't have the thought that we are completely all the time in a forever kind of separated. Because if you feel that we are forever separated and cannot kind of meet again, that brings too much suffering for the people whom we love. So this feeling is kind of very universal. There are lots of this feeling very strongly everywhere, whichever background or the culture of country or people there may be. That's one thing. And secondly, in this world, they're continuously, discovering new things, and some things that we have kind of decided not possible earlier, again, through research or through different ways, we find that that is possible. So there are many things that people kind of decided or thought that this cannot be, was later discovered that it can be like that. And it seems to me the case of life after and life death is also something like that, that it's possible to have doubt about, but it's not possible to completely, decide that it is not possible. It's something that at least there should be doubt about it. Then thirdly, there are lots of people who remember or who think that they remember their past lives. And this is not something only happening in Buddhist countries or among the people who believe in the life after and life before, but all different kind of people, all different kind of countries. There are lots of people who have this experience of believing that they remember their past lives. And this is something that we cannot, or people cannot totally explain. So therefore, probably this has to go into that category where people cannot still explain fully. So therefore had to go in this category where we have to put at least under doubt.
Sorry. 나바상계에 경험하지. 예와 주야데 조 가수에다. 베네지 심 집에 게임을 타고 그러지. 집에 타매와 게임을 타고 그러지. 게임을 타베. 게임을 타베 집에디 리과당 디규리에 시바스나는 리과스나는 시바테다 우중우라서 우만중우 마다도 우변서 옥시즌 somewhere. 디디 랑게 징정아마 그런데 시바이네 시베리 징정아마 우이네 우기네 아마라 아마라 대바메 왔잖아요 말았어. 가래서는 그냥 우중우기 징정아마를 마대바 우중우 요하메 시바이네 징정아마를 마대 아야 말았어. 근데 다 뒤나는 잡에 시바티 텐데베다 집에게만 하면 유리예베게 시바디 시바 랑다 릭자베 랑다 릭자베도 용아마 정원도 송하다 되네 아니 게임하면서 가래서 리버라스 뭐고 가서 윤대를 신지 윤대의 전생이 뭐고 싶어 왔어. 근데 이미 인도서 뒤준세는 되네 라는 진정아 먹는 도로였어. 근데 진정 아마디 아니 릭바사를 간지래 세점 릭점 용점 근데 차질이야 릭바 시바스 알아서. 근데 인도사는 텐데 시리 기차 용점 기차셔디 년랭이 교함 랑가 진정 아마라 수진 잔 제스 말았어. 가라서 미투미규 차는 거였어. 거기 윤재인 튠버지 고아라고 정신 튠버지만 정신 미투미 되부지 저거 말았어. 하나들은 년내 제투 투룸 년내 가서 제루원 들지 개고요. 알았어. 근데 뉴 엔디셔션.
So if we look from the Buddhist logic point of view, can you hear me at the back? Yes? Okay. So if you look from the Buddhist point of view, then the logic is like this. For instance, if you take the case of a child, a baby just born, this baby breathes and this baby has awareness, a consciousness. Now, the breathing of the baby, the body of the baby, as well as the consciousness of the baby has to come because of causes and conditions. And these causes and conditions has to be of a similar nature. It's the same quality, same kind of nature. Otherwise, it cannot be. If there is a kind of, if there is no previous similar thing, then it cannot produce the next, the same kind of things. Everything that is same kind has its own continuum. And so therefore, it cannot be created something totally different. So therefore, now we take the case of the consciousness of the baby. Now the first, the consciousness that the baby has to be produced also with the same type of causal conditions, which has to be a consciousness. And that consciousness, because, a consciousness is by nature something aware, something clear, something luminous. And if that is not there, then, something that is totally different quality, different type, or different in characteristic, cannot create something totally different. So therefore, something that is awareness or consciousness cannot be something that is just form or material, just a kind of matter. Matter cannot create awareness or consciousness. So therefore, it has to be, the consciousness has to have a similar cause, similar condition, which has to be another consciousness.
Today, you saw Susan in Yelandi, Susan like Shibe Yelan, Susan Shibe Yelan Rungumanas. Or Susan Jiki, Shibe Yelan Chachuyana, Susan Tamse Chemichabayamane, the distribution of Susan Tamse, Kasre, Namsi Dani, Siri the Nichandra Soshi. Deamarva, Susan Tamse.
So
Susan Tamse Kasre, Soja the Nisan and Dando. That's what I said. The city is a color of a shot. The Chan Bakanda, Tendrita says, I'm Rizam, the Nijang, Shibati, Rangatate, really, Surdu Yavati, Kosa Lossi, Jerry Yavati, and Azu Noya Haku. Shibadan, Ribasadi, Kadijis Garsna, says, I'm Rizam, Yonsam, the Dani, Tendigilia, Shibasi Gardens. Then the series of the Nichang Shibati, the Jig Jansin Jede, Rank really causes and you have the answer with no head daughter.
So therefore, the matter, just a matter, has its own kind of continuum. And if that matter turns or can turn into awareness or can produce awareness or consciousness, then everything that is material, or every matter, has to produce that and has to be awareness and consciousness. But that's not like that. The consciousness or awareness, the mind, by its nature, is something that's knowing, something that is aware, something that can experience. And that kind of that is something that is with us in our body that we can actually experience. We know, we experience that. La.
Yeah. Today, you saw that Donna. Yimbegian Tadun Gawanga Stadi, Natsu, Kasre, that she's a delivery change. That you been at Tando so sugi, that you know why there. Not honestly, she was in that day, Kandar Kasweta. Paji, Jion, which are mid Hamzeronia, Chile cabin, River Jacar, Dar, Janus, Kasweta. 지단 대접시 마다베 지용기다 경어지 메사데 가서다 지 제방을 제바 도토야지 마도 하지 뭐 숨기 다 용왕을 숨지 않아 마도 갈아 가봐 드리두산 티가서 디스강에 쳐요 아주지 가서에 아틀리스테이크 사가세 가자 뭐좀 말 가자
무슨 materialistic.
다 된다지 바지 마체 뒤로 니주 저지 봐 제일 차 두산에 뒤주자는 데네 오양 데래야 용수기 용화를 지게 매두사 이체 아까나 가보시다 또 드네도 다테 탑나서를 되네 거 가서야지 지 곰냠네 체제 양고 시바마 고 차로마 친지 고 라베 시바스 방은 친지 한다고 차로치 이지지도 내도 덴도 버려 충분히나 드네거야 아니 경어지 자요 숨고요 대대상 과제 드네讨论 배지 다니도 가시 영어도 와 가서 벤 데를 주러 왔다 가서 this main 기토 main 잡지 와 지 가시 들으셔도 니를 구주 니라미나 지면 가서 다들 요산들다 들으셔도 가다 medical some treat 된다부지래다 그래서 터시 나도 돼야 알았어
Hypnosis?
I don't know.
So, now generally speaking, this is the general kind of Buddhist logic. There are many, but this is the main kind of point of Buddhist logic, is that the material kind of continuum and the conscious continuum is something separate. Because the conscious continuum is something that is very much based on experience, awareness, and then this clarity in our mind. It is not something that you can actually see or experiment from outside. It's something that can only be experienced. And therefore, it's very difficult for materialistic-minded people to kind of understand that or to demonstrate that, because in this century, the people are much more materialistic, and so it's very difficult to demonstrate it, this fact of the mind continuum. Although there could be different methods, like for instance, traditionally, the meditation is one of the methods. When you meditate, and through meditation, your consciousness, kind of the rough consciousness, gross consciousness, goes deeper, and then more and more, clear and subtle consciousness can be experienced. And at a certain level, then you can actually remember your past lives. So therefore, when you go deeper into your consciousness, in a more subtle level of consciousness, then this can be experienced. It is also sometimes done that, kind of through, you can say, medical science, or through certain, I think he means hypnosis, or some other means that your mind goes deeper, and then, maybe sometimes you can also kind of experience certain memories of the past and things like that. There are some possibilities of this also.
Okay. Finished.
Your Holiness Holiness, please could you explain the meaning of the antidote? Antidote, giving victory to others. And could you please give an example? We don't give victory to others,
Actually.
Actually.
Maybe this is not problem. That's the reason.
I think this is two things. There are two things. One is that you actually implement this, that you give victory to the others. And another is you exercise in your mind as a training of the mind, that in your mind you allow your mind to give victory to the others.
Perang azu tonglen gi nyamlen chebe gurya. Ene da karso tomar shengi karso da ji genge batang. Ene dibala so de gi ji na bolo shi na toa sen da ya na bo na ba chi su ran ya ti. Rang gi be sonam da ne be tsering wa da ne me wa da la so ba di kal sang bi cha de ba tang xian le ba ti mi ju. Ren yang le chai ba. De ba ji da
For instance, when we do the Tonglen practice, so we, in our meditation, in our meditative experience, we take on all the negative things of others into us, as a kind of something dark, something, pollution or something like that, and we take it on ourselves. And then all our good things, like our positive actions, our health, and all the positive things that we have, we feel that we give it to all others.
This
is a training of the mind.
Okay. Tene, ta ina ya di kashe gi tonglen nyamlen chi du sa. Kashe ya kenza pas de chamban na ding gi ju bi na kasho. chamban na ding gi ju kasho da ji bi chamban ho ding gi ji kasho. go na ding gi cha ho ding gi ju yi na. Ta de tonglen ju gom ju sa na be mi kashe gi tonglen gom shi du sa ka ji so de. 남상에 저 동네 제외인데 남상 고나서 처음 봐서 다음에는 지 합치 접수 나는 만나 주변에서 해야 돼 마무시하러 다이나 뒤뒤 로종사 저 안에서 와 로종스도 있잖아 드레베 고나 잠시다 아니 차와 접수 해야 되기 로종 로가 로종스도 있잖아 셈을 그저지 야도 드레 뉴스안에 조디 규규 냠내 지단 찔리야 랑기 뉴유리야 닝게유들이야베 디 가서 랑진진 코 그래서 랑진진 코 랑진진에 나마도 지기 가서 미성게 신케도 써 신케도 써베다 나지 지고를 당가지고 신다 하르나래 나라지 죽는 수준을 보지 신달래베 나와시다 마다지 고체동안 되게 말씀이나 고 정수 흉모토게 가서 신내야 도지당야 잘지 하려 아 근데 제가 나친 나게베 나마도 숨기면 게는데 말미 나버지 말미들이 나버지 뉴스 봐곰 대 곰네 안 당기디 가서 신게베 동해들 저보다 아주다 산에 가서 나자던 거 처음에 지금 아주 뒤뒤 쉽지 그래서 답변은지 지당의 최대의 제고도 최대의 대마이마 나 상부 고도 상바점도 마세요 신케를 써야죠 된 저거만 나 전화주는데 신나라 가르나데 사람 뒤 상부 누르 저 근데 랑진진 남 신케를 쓰는 게 근데 상부디 그게 마음이 나면 요에 들이야도 동去联用的啥呢？龙拿不得没，土拿不。哦，土拿不拿不了，去联用的啥？他给的，他说让进进考，妈咪那不有的这个三送上了，这嘛西送，妈咪的西送上了。这上多啦，东林家的生了呗。上个什么苦脚家，什么脚大吃过了嘛？headache 吃松，吃不接松，大几片我那当年也不吃松，啥的，这样可能那生活的，这人呢，他真的上个准备的，可对那难的，headache 讲个吃呗，他这他眼里修，啊，这里吃不破的修嘛，不知道了吧？修可能我那真的撞的撞嘛没有，别这些，那你们打过。来好了，三个月，年的学历不大，忙个不了，刚来学就是年第四辈，查来了就是学的是爬起出去，的学的是路上，给你路上，俺全部送，那得用俺们。
So, some people say that. That I'm doing Tonglen with people who have cold, who have headache. I'm practicing Tonglen on them. And then I did that and then I have headache now. You know, I did Tonglen and now I have headache. I did Tonglen for people who have cold and now I have cold. I have problem. This, I don't know whether it's like that or not, you know. This is not about getting what, you know, getting sick by doing Tonglen or anything like that. This is a training of the mind. It's a training of the mind. It has to transform our way of experiencing. It has to change our mind. So therefore, there is one way is that you feel a kind of your own, you know, kind of self-cherishing. Not just self-cherishing, meaning that that you want to be well. Not that, but the only thing that I want is that what I have to fulfill my own desires. I don't care for anybody else, you know, to kind of giving up or insulting others. That kind of, you know, what can you say, self-interest, selfishness. Only I have to be the best. I have to be the, you know, winner. These kind of feelings, the selfishness, you see as like a lamp or a light, burning lamp in your heart. And then it's not to say that you should not take care for your health. Of course you have to take care for your health. It's nothing to do with that. It's just that you cannot be unconcerned about other people. You cannot, you know, belittle the interest of the other people. That's the mistake. Taking care of yourself is not the mistake. So in this practice, then you bring in the problems and sufferings and negative things of other people in form of like a dark or black or smoky cloud, and then enter into you, and that then kind of kills that lamp or a light of your self-cherishing, too much selfishness. And through that, then doing that again and again, you kind of make a little bit shift, a little bit change to your way of experiencing and to your attitude. That is the main understanding, that to change our mind, to kind of find a way to transform our way of experiencing and attitude. It's not that, when you do the Tonglen, then you have to feel all the problems that everybody has. Otherwise, then Buddha Shakyamuni will be sick all the time. The Buddha Shakyamuni needed like a truckload of tissue paper. And, the Shariputra and Mangala, they would be too busy, anything, the tissue papers, So it's too much. It's not like that.
Tene ju sane, pa tanga de be, su sono de ge wa tanga de ya. Ma zu dong dui me ba che tanga sha be, shou song de sane, ma zu me ba sha. Ina ya ma zu dong dui ye ba che tanga sha de sane, xu ne ji la de ge do ma do be, xu le be, dong ba de ji, le ge de be na zu ge, mi ji le won ne zhen jia la ya bu, jia la ni ji bu ji, su su ga sa ji ba de ho sam, de se ju sane. Ji sam da yin de sa, su su de ji. 这次就散了，这边来点呢，说高汉这不记得，中汉这不去呢，那个都嘛到，到这次就散了呗，看出来记，身边着急，俺们那看出来他记，他没把查出说的这里用不到啊，这里就散了怕，他天这有关的，先平古龙300关的，怕当用就散，记没送，然后就未送、不送上子就没把钱，去那边原始的点把这个记得人堂。 天来讲，人堂吃完了不去，去哪里头？随便的米，所属的搞不起事里啊，米加那边炸起不这样就散，加那啥什么这样的米现在来炸那炸起不的top，所说来呀，台的2把逻辑，所说来出去，早晚都是 top 用。这里就散，第一就是这样的呢，所属样说那么早晚都是生生路，对不对？但是别管是个爱那什么，但是这些但到呢，你看的是呢，他推荐啊，这个。 老庄的娘们钱搞的，运动老庄也搞的，上了大没搞的，听这些人，我们老庄娘们钱我们也搞的，你上当了，对老庄他的这个也不对。
And also, when you give, it is the same way. This, for instance, you are not giving something that you don't want to give. If you give something that you don't want to give, then it's not giving. Then it's kind of stolen or robbed or lost. But it is not like that. You give something that you want to give. And when you give something that you really want to give, then you really do not lose it. You get something out of it. Because, for instance, we give something, a valuable thing, for instance, to somebody whom we really want to give it. So once we have given it, we don't feel lost. We feel very happy, more happy. And I could give this to this person that I wanted to give. So there is something left in us which is very, kind of satisfying and, something joyful, something gratifying. So therefore, although you have given a very valuable thing to somebody else, you get a similar type of satisfaction or similar type of joy in yourself too. So therefore, this giving is giving with your own what you want to give, is something that you really do not lose. So in this way, when you do the Tonglen also, it's not that you have lost something, you never lose anything. When you give all your merits or all your positive deeds, it's not that you have nothing positive left in you. It's not like that. You don't really lose anything. And this is something, when you do in the Tonglen practice. And the Tonglen practice is about this, exercise, a training of the mind in this way.
당고 수냐는 제거리야. 딱해다 제가 쉬치는 전화 보고랑 걸 요새한테 그 뒤에네 아주 배 경장경 그 캐드신다를 때 쓰기 쓰면 경선도 잘 가르치래. 캐스도 가르쳐야 돼. 뭐 했으면 배낭 아주 뒤에 벤티사 배나 미지 걸 가르쳐야지. 유디 내가로 뛰는 아주 타주 차오. 그때 배나 미지리아 다 디사 배나 그랑 배나 개마지마 따로 개마지마 던 거므로 전에 가르치면 티바
개마지마 던 거 때문에 단담다 미 너도 못 보여
아빠한테 개마 슬라이스 것으로 와서 하시나 개마지마 당도 요니도 와 개마지마 던 주사네 다 소소리야 오늘 개마니 연에 아무도 와 그래서 캐 이메나 개마니 매비나 딱 미들이야 그랑 개마지 공고 여버지다 공고 여버는 시제 편도 연구 여버지에 시제 유주 내급 될래야 그 거바 여버지 통신 개마지 부당시 두사네 개마지 부당 두사네 소소를 내급 가서다 개마니 담보 여버 그지래야 개마지 마도 매버지 또 경으로 지르바다 소소 근데 이메네야 미신달래야 캐제 윤주산 내가 주지 오늘 뇌이 섬서를 좀 하다 따대 랑 경기 배사 소소소지 용무도 어다 되는 시체 근데 잘라지 미니 참가기 되게 있나 내든지 돌아 미니 참가기 되게 있나 얘네야다 뭐지 들려고 유류 내가 들려배 빠는 거반도나 미팅 얘네야 소소돼야 참가봐 이비체 걔가다 가서 그 걔가 세는다도 개변의 콜에 양해는 자 다른 정아주 내가 집에 걸리는 데는 제가 대신으로 대하면 유류 내가로 두 장글로의 유주된 두니 장들이 제토 누나 지규래마도 랑들이 제무도 발리지리아 당아 로종 냠는 지금 디버점벌에 마제 투메레 선서로 레벨 체인지 제나 제마 줘봤잖아 저마다 줘봤잖아데 배사 근데 유산의 뒤균산의 때네 유류 내가들이야 상담단지 아니 걔다 얘가 시작을 경다 보고랑 걸 했어야 돼 오늘 이제 냠는 샤 여벌해도 오늘 아주 제대 제마도 지금 아주 그 뒤에 배 캐신달 때 경호랑 코스라데 괜찮으시고 드레인다 개와 캐나츠 줍스 엔 미기와 아주 제고 생겼어 다 냐와는 년으로 쳐 결혼 löyle 배로치 있어야 소지 다 되게 요함해 다고 유류 내가 들려야 코베 개화체네 그 상불이 안 독사래나 소소냐와를 치나 친초린 집어 초린 쳐가지고 와 맞아 소소냐와를 친고 된돌라 코랑 만조이나 아니 경로 드린 주산 뒤균세는 되네 네 유류 내가 뒤 그거마다 그 셀이야 딴 드레지 삼당과데 계속 사네
Now, when we actually practice this in our life, then we must understand in a clear way,
carefully,
in a careful way.
Oh.
It's not that we have to always give victory or benefits to the others, and always we have to take the defeat or the loss. It's not like that. We have to see, we have to examine the time, place, and situations. And for instance, many people give their kidney, for instance, or other things like that. So when you give, everybody has 2 kidneys, and it is good to have 2 kidneys.
maybe sometimes not. Mother give only one kidney?
Maybe some people has only one kidney, but most people have 2 kidneys. And it's good to have 2 kidneys. But if you see very clearly that somebody else has lost both kidneys, and I really wish that other person has 1
Both
kidney.
kidney only one kidney. You got me chance pesar.
Okay,
Okay, don't discuss. Okay. Okay. We discuss. Only 1 kidney or 2 kidney. Oh.
I said that if he has 1 kidney, then you don't have to give another kidney. Anyway, so anyway, if somebody needs a kidney and really needs a kidney, and you are in the right position, and you really want to give it, and you feel that you don't have regret giving that, and then you give that. So when you give that, you really save this person's life. So therefore, you don't feel that you have lost a kidney. You feel that you have been able to use your kidney in such a good way that you are very happy and you are very satisfied with that. Because if you just give and then it doesn't have purpose, and your purpose is not fulfilled, then it's not good. So therefore, in the same way, like for instance, 2 people are two people wants one thing. It may be something like a job or a thing or something like that. And then if really you feel that this is very good for the other person to have it, and that you can take it, it's okay for you, and then you kind of give the benefit to the other person, that other person have it. That also is very good. It's very good because you give it to the other person, and so therefore it's not that you have lost, but you have given that. But this is something you have given the benefit to this other person. It's a gift, it's a generosity, it's a giving. But you have to see according to to your kind of level of mind. It is not something that I am practicing Tone, so I have to give it, even if I don't want to. It's not like that. You should not do that. Only if you are really convinced that you can give it, you want to give it, it will be really useful, and I have no regret, then it is good to give. But if I feel that I will have regret, then it's very bad. You can't give it. You should not give it. So therefore, if you do like that, that you give just because you are supposed to give, or you are supposed to be practicing Tonglen, so you give it, and then it is not really right, because it's like almost saying that you do all the positive things, I do all the negative things, because I want to go to hell and you go to heaven. It's not like that. It's I want to benefit, the other people. And then if it is really beneficial, and then if I am prepared for that, to sacrifice something, really at that level of my experience or my practice, then only you do that. So therefore, it's not just like giving all the benefits to the others, or giving all the victory to the others, and you just take all the losses and, bad things. It's not just like that. It has to be according to the time, according to the need, according to the, the level of your own practice.
Next question. Next.
No, next. how can it be possible to live happily in a city with many millions of people full of business without becoming lonely? The
New
trees
York.
are sad, the water is full of chemicals, the air seems dead. People do not talk to each other and are afraid. What can we do? What can I do?
New York ya azu tudu sane sa khasa sa pemba de nyima imba lido shira ta ko maras mizul den ha ko sa pemba nyima ene te ji kompara cham sha ne ke je res san dawa de zone ke ja khora shen lo chane ya mi ko ra thong go ma de ne du san be chu chen na ju ro res ne du san New York ya sa pemba nyima imi ba ji ta ko ju san lido.
In New York, if you go to New York, you don't need to look at the calendar. You see when is Saturday and Sunday, because the way people behave changes. On Saturday and Sunday, people little bit, stop when they walk, and then they kind of talk to each other, and kind of little bit, leisurely. But on other days, they never look here and there. You're just always running without talking to anybody. Too busy.
미상으로 주제 가서에 엄마 당부 이미나 라지 가서에 네 모터스 좀 근데 반 조르치 모터스야 릴루스야 넘주스야 다 들으면 지금 조르 신주산 미코라는 버에 얘는 참참 아메리카도 와서 주주산에 아메리카에 레서 상long 장롱 맞은 거네 레사피 드네 주산에 뒤준산에 되네 주제 밀리야 주제라는 고추 즉 동주도 산에 미디 제미스 강에 타요라 디 가서야 이번에 개시슈딩에 섬리야 베랑아 달로 아메리카 심으래 아메리카 주도 산에 네 당보 뉴욕에 심으래 뉴욕에 주도산 캄바 토사 침디가 내주산 기브르시라면 산이 미가 통하면 상공보디 미가 통하면 돼. 아니 이게 바나나로 질이야. 다시 이제 망배 전문인지 사주가 당하죠. 근데 이제 캔사를 또 소화는 이제 강가로 이제 리간 맞대 되면 그렇다. 이제 캔사를 또다. 근데 전에 드림이 인주산 뒤준전에 때네 예서물에 개시슈디 아니 디가리아 아주지 샘리아 예 컨시시아는 시 샘리아 지 예수샤 주제 나오샤 컨시시아 아주 딘지 예수샤最렌 샤비네 야고요 아주 지다 내가 저래 이 이비네야 내가데 거리주다 제디요 내가데 랑거들이야 가서다 내가데 다 랑거 초에 들날 소머래 다 간다 좀 제대로 하래 다 이민의 소소랭 오늘 전에야 가수에다지 예수샤디 루심 예수아사디 오늘 시작해 버려요 아주 드리 뉴산 디주센데네 그것은 이 공격사 지지지지 사주로다 심플로지 대사 되게 시작해 버려요 근데 참여지 제도 중입니다. 관리디스 때 관리글이 그런 쌤 시와 차이입니다. 가서지 류마들 저와 참 간데 차이네야. 시라 교에서 아이나서 그냥 안 한다고 지미네야. 다 저와 면세는 저와 사वर 좋아해요. 치료라다베 모데나 파스 교디가 만데 이미네. 저와 사वर 좋아하는데 쌤 낭로는 시대를 주유산 치기 가수에다지 쌤이야. 그런 쌤기 내가 좀 조금 내요 유산 sem le su rong wa de cha yin du sa ne chi ge ka shu chawa sa de ko di ka shu sem de da le je xin tu ya ru chi chen xie ge je xin tu ya ru chi yong de yin du sa di jun zhen de ne wa sem le ka le kan da ka shu 배랑 아주 미지다 다시 유부이나 같이 단정을 시죠. 단정이 비슷하네. 그리고 미드 가서 유부이나 그 다들 매수기 속에 전에 육대는 저거보다 그 유부의 인상. 다가는 시 아주 심기 다디 왜 년에야 돼 가서지. 내수로 제제가 이제 땅토로 중요미나 제시가 따고 되는 땅토로 중요미나 아니 제리야 가서다 지 대화 특징 전부다 가지 중요입니다. 되게 가서 나중에 샘기 저기로 신도 제제다 저 샘기 신 제시의 된도로 제제 시라지기 가서 루심이야 근데 부수 더보다 루심이가 대화로 근데 매우야 돼 스페너 용을 성도
I think that our life becomes very fast. Before there is nothing, no technology, nothing. Then comes the cars, and becomes much faster. Then train and aeroplane and things like that. It's become so fast that you have to, catch up with this fastness. When I went to America, I just arrived America before I was even, my mind was kind of totally prepared to arrive. It's kind of arrived. You started the journey and you arrived. So therefore, the technology, is making it so fast, the life so fast that everything becomes very fast. So it's a bit difficult. I went to New York this year. I went to America and New York. So in New York, the first step in America, I went to New York, and then we were staying on the on the top of a very high building, many stories high, and then you cannot see through the earth. You cannot see the ground. So it's kind of funny. It's a funny feeling. So therefore, I think the most important thing is what I have been talking before, that you must try to give some rest or relaxation to your mind. Of course, you have to work. Everybody has to work, but still, why do you have to work? The work is for yourself. To work is for your livelihood, for a good living. Therefore, you live. So it has to be something that's beneficial to you. So therefore, if we can find a way to relax our mind, rest our mind a little bit, then I think it is easier to catch up, because both our body and mind needs certain rests. And so when our mind can relax, then and more everybody can relax a little bit the mind, then I think there will be more peace. And for instance, if my life, if you look at my own life, if I look at my own life, whatever I say, I am quite busy. Usually I am busy. I don't have to run around. But, I have lots of things to do. But then, because I get certain kind of peace in my mind, therefore, even if I'm busy with my body and speech, the mind is a little bit ahead of that busyness. So therefore, it gives me not so much kind of pressure, you can say. The busyness of the outside can kind of, the mind is kind of ahead, mind is relaxed and in peace, so therefore it is it's easy. It doesn't give too much problem. And for instance, if it like a man and a horse, if they run, the horse is faster. The man is less fast. But because the horse is faster, then if the horse kind of runs a little bit and then rests and runs, then slowly, the man can catch it up. So therefore, the horse doesn't have much problem because it runs faster. So therefore, the man can slowly catch up. So in the same way, if our mind is kind of relaxed and find a way to rest, so therefore it is kind of ahead of our body and mind. So then body and mind, the busyness of the body doesn't totally stress the mind. So therefore it is, it balances, and so life can be a little bit more relaxed. Otherwise, you are so busy doing things and the mind is kind of left behind, so it's very difficult to catch up with that. So there's lots of, stress and lots of problems because there's no time, there's no kind of, it's always running. So therefore, if you can give that space to our mind, some kind of, as I discussed many times before, to give certain time and kind of certain way to relax and kind of ease our mind, to give some rest to our mind again and again, then I think it will be of some help.
Pena nyade chengo gyugyu peru disha ngazu chawa chabu kandeji nizu kare chumbi minya azu sangi jumde ne chenxie sa de ra ke ti chenxie sa de nizu kandeji yebinya nizu ti na lo le ya karu dan tele xianbe nizu ti na overwhelmed de mo yin bechen tele xinda jube chenxie xinda xi tin guan ma bena ji nizu de jeji mina chenxie ti gan ma mi de de wen ro ji de ji da chenxie jing a zo me de me ma da ji su su ji be ka shuo da yue se de a ti na lo le guo ji chenxie guan zan den tu me bi na a de ji ga zo gang yan che bena mi ji chu ji na lo ya lu mi na ke yi tong ya chang lo chu re an da na ji chu ge overwhelmed 是吧？用是观点样的。이 뒤뒤산에 개시슈의 가라서는 호랑 가리마. Who are you? 사저로다. 교랑 가리마디. 미마. 지 주계 신기여바. 되게 전고랬어. 니주디나 다 주난 랩사서 드레인 두산에 다 추마도 지 사무신하게 과야매 차입니다. 됨지금도 와. 호랑 미마. 미비 주계 야신기여바. 신고를 다나시 다 Quran belongs to earth so marada sajalia ko khonsto marada gigan lo 마도 주나 냐마라 드네도 산에 되게디 겁지도 산에 고 주나 팀제베 니주자도 건데 이민의 디가로에 대 전고 대 전부입니다 거기 저와는 체지 디난 튼튼야 친구 다나 신아 주기 니주 체신 간의 중국입니다 전 시신사다 전부의 시신사다 대화를 시작해줘 전부의 시신사다 그러지래 니주 디나로리아 창문로지 네 소수기 샘다 창문로 디나로리아 주셔도 되는 니주지 예버체 니주지 트렌드 예버체 텔레야 전시신사다 남관은 미기 대대버 그렇지 가다 니주 텔레야 뜻입chen 근데 제가 가다 가다지 오늘 전에 소수기 뒤균이 정신바 소수기 다 정신마서 가서 오늘 소수 오늘 미게 대대버 그렇지 니주 그래 다들 주산에 don't forget 소소 in charge 인바디 제규어 말했어. 니주도 사람을 플랜 좀 제대로 좀 해. 니주산 티주 젠데. 되게 나는
So generally I give this example. However busy we are, we have to have certain kind of mindfulness and awareness. We have to be aware. The situation we are in, we have to be aware. So that we are not overwhelmed by that. If we have become aware and mindful, then we don't become, if we are not aware of and not mindful, we can become totally overwhelmed. For instance, if somebody kind of falls in the water or a river or something like that, and then that person falls in the river and then completely overwhelmed and frightened, then that person can drown. But if that person can think that, can understand who I am, where I am, that I know how to swim, I am like this and like that, then if you have the overall kind of awareness, then you don't get overwhelmed by that situation. So therefore, what is this mindfulness and awareness? It's something like you are looking from above and knowing what's going on around in a clear way, a clear picture of what's going on. When that is there, then you don't forget you are not overwhelmed. So therefore, one cannot forget this, that to be aware, to have the mindfulness. And when that happens, then you feel that you are in charge. So therefore, you become much more, what can you say, much more clear, and therefore maybe less overwhelmed and less kind of stressed.
Next question.
Can beginners in the Dharma do the Sharizik Puja immediately, or should they get some instructions first? If yes, which one are necessary?
Menga nangi judu yabina ko chego lu shuma thane chere sinya me so tu chene menga nangi lama judu yabina ti tan toje shu de che sho nto dana shi sanga cho ka de da bin ne ngen wang tu sanga wang tu wang ku we ko ya wang ki ngo zhe ya de ji 왕 거리야 다 간다 계속 원전는 거 아래 원전下的忽然名啊저가 다는데 명아데 왕了称个啊的주산 디 명아데我揣不起我揣不也不出所以呢忽然미세 수도 지 명아사 티사지 마토비 미냐 검청就是두단이네 두루도 되냐 진도야 아 대단한 뭐 임바 yang kashui ji wang dun de de da ke ma chu che menga nang ge gyun de me che an sha ga ji chue du de lang sang da ji de la kashui yi dem ji de sa de de men de ba ru ji tong tong.
If you have somebody who can instruct you, with you, kind of constant, then it is okay. Then you can practice because you get the instructions and you can ask for clarifications and things like that. So you can go on practicing and learn at the same time. But then for all Vajrayana practices, you must first get the empowerment. And empowerment is in actual fact is an introduction, is a teaching. And what you get in the empowerment is actually instruction. And if you really get that instruction, then you don't need maybe a special instruction also. You can use that instruction that you got at the time of empowerment as the instruction, and then you can practice that, you can meditate on that. If it is not like that, if you didn't get any understanding from the empowerment, if you didn't get the meaning of the instructions, and then you don't have anybody to instruct you daily or generally, then maybe to practice Vajrayana just like that may not be so useful.
Next.
The cause of attachment is the sense of self. The purpose of Dharma practice is to benefit all beings, correct? How to deal with other people's attachment in the workplace? Very often, self-interests, attachment, and conflicts coexist. How can we deal with this situation?
단 요몽은 좀 제 세우면 생긴 요몽은 좀 생긴 요몽 반 카드 제수디. 근데 상계 도지나 그런 요몽에 상계 그런 띵인지리야. 요말 쇼네. 가르쳐를 가지. 배나다 바자르 세워 바자르 가서래. 인지게 바자르. 바자르 사리 자가게 인지게.
인지게.
바자르 남 배회 거리야. 생긴 요몽은 운규르티스마 정신이 좀 그런 거 띵인지 누가디. 년도에 주기에 근데 좀 도만했어. 좀 많이 비네야. 남사들은 좀 배는 쇼게 집 다 바자르 디난 조고 여비는 만족 권에배 펜바당 생기 펜바당 다라 되는 셴의 요몽게와 뭐줍지 펜바당 되네배 좋은데수 진짜 펜바당 집이나 셴의 요몽바 미제베 자와요라스 근데 펜도요라스 대마도 지기 상계는 시주 문주와 가져야지 용유스만
So when we talk about others' kleshas or mind poisons, for the Buddhas completely done away with their kleshas and negative emotions. So therefore, when the Buddha goes in a crowd, then by the power of his own state of mind, his samadhi, his realization. So everybody's klesha is kind of this kind of apparent, the strong, present, expressed kleshas completely pacifies. So nobody gets totally, emotional at the time. Disturbed. Nobody really directly experiences or feels the disturbed emotions at the time or in the presence of a Buddha. For great Shravakas or Arhats and things like that, it's not that much. They don't have that much power. So therefore, they usually, before going to the town, they make a very strong kind of aspiration or a prayer that may nobody get disturbed or may nobody be overwhelmed by their emotions when I go there. So like that, they make this kind of a strong aspirations, and then it's mostly, expected that people around them, when they meet them, they don't get too much affected by the negative emotions.
이네 다 맞죠 치료를 주잖아요. 다베 넘버 등규면은 와도 왔더니 넘줄베 가서다 생기 이왕 쳐야 쳇 가서다 지금 아주 가서지 나래야 뭐십시 예 뭐십 좋지
맞아.
그 수고를 먹어도사 수고를 먹어 다 수고를 먹는 저도 같아 나라니 잡은도 갔을까 아 대 수고도 배배나는 수고를 계시래 알아 말해서 당겨 수고를 먹어도 수고를 먹으면 미술을 삼다 그랬어 바자나 레스도사 그래서 오 전에 돈아지 떠랬어 근데 좀 앞에 ዝ부이서 그러나 근데 누사 때 뒤서로 제 미술 당할 참석 가시에 넘주를 주지 대지 현라야 배 차당피야 지 야면에 지 차와피야 야면에 지 미세서 아주 배배 미세서 차도서 니 미세라 근데 집에 넘주 주지 대지 두고 근데 누사 근데 지 넘주 근데 대지 시비나 녀모께야 그러 벌써 근데 왜 자와당 미지에 자와당 편박 가야 마당지 넘주배 나서 때는 시비나 녀몬저 아까라 다나 미신다 잡아 채울 거야 대다 대신 나중에 미신다 녀모 미제야지 소수기 개로 죽고세 밀리시는 상바상보다 넘주야고 때 제 제비네 아우요 왜 제가 소수기 시가랑한테 봤던 샤나 아니 녀몬저 아까라
And for most of us, when we go out, we kind of we show our best in a way, as much as possible. I have a friend, and he tells me that I need to be tall. I need to be tall. I said that, okay, you are tall enough. You are as tall as me. He says, no, I must be very tall, because when you are tall, then people look at you. And people kind of take more, what can you say, more, what can you say? More notice of you. People take more notice of you. So therefore, when you go out, you become a little bit, noticeable, and then you are looking good, and most of the time we go out and kind of make our, makeup or make our appearance as much as possible that people are attracted to you. Or sometimes people are jealous of you, envy of you, we kind of take that as the main way of presenting ourselves. So when you do that, when you do in that way, then it is maybe very difficult that people do not get clashes or get disturbed minds when you meet them, because you are actually presenting yourself in such a way. So therefore, I think it is very important that we try to present ourselves in such a way that, like loving kindness, caring for others, or, in such a way, positive way, that more and more it's likely that people do not, get mental disturbances or, negative emotions. So therefore, this is, I think, very important, that sometimes, we don't need to show the way we actually feel, but we kind of present ourselves with our body language, with our way, we act in such a way that, it makes people feel less kind of negativity. That, I think, is very important.
Bihar I can't see Kinny today, Kinny Lucena, Palusana, Mizuta and Lusana, there's the same Pajaro Shan. That's a check who do us of Sarti, because they did on our children. They don't see that. They do us not do this.
For example, in Bihar, people don't have too much, like cleanliness, hygiene kind of habits. So if you come here and then if you take your, garbage and put it in the garbage box, and when people see it, maybe they also feel that, oh, it's like that, I should also maybe do like that. So your own actions or your own examples can sometimes, influence others as well.
Next. 5 o'clock.
I have wondered why people look the way they do. Why some are blessed with beauty, why some are not blessed with beauty. Why down to the very last characteristic, some have small ears and some have large ones, etc. What are the causes of our physical characteristics? I have never heard any explanation of this.
아주 배발이야 지치야 청디산은 기계 암자 시대로 암자 준주이나 쳐보소.
In Tibet, we say that those who have big ears is because when they were young, their teacher, pulled it too much, so therefore it became big.
이날 있잖아, 룩스리야. 암조를 뭐 상기를 암조를 뭐 서로와 야미에나 가시지 지는. 근데 미리 가시 암조를 못 써거든.
According to the Chinese, they say the Buddha has a big ear. So, if you have a big ear, it is supposed to be very graceful.
이랑 예사말이야. 다 되게 나 지중다, 수부 지중다, 암조 지중다, 되게 생각이 랑 릭을 알아야 돼. 지 용의 알람. 구육이 차네. 용의 아주 용의 알아. 이번에 개시슈디 마수기 레레야 나버숨도 배제 룽아가 레다 이게 레제제 나버숨숨이 알아. 그래서 룽아가 레라 되네. 그래서 개머지 개비나 삼바삼비고 하는 개분지 개비나 텔라 때네 룽아가 가서 수고로 지 조르스. 레디 소로 지 조르스. 디 준세나 때네 and Benaji Gashwe, Tijun Senate, Krati led to you, you san, Tijun Kashwe, T lady to the Chikasu led to you, san, Tijun Senate, and Daji Paji Kashwe, Lena Tudan Chigi, the Kavan, Joan Romero Santos. Benasangi sang Jeres, Kadine Gamgeva, Gizakare. 제레스 그뒤에 개목에고야 때 퍼지 가수하다지 신 좀보다 젠 배고야 때 퍼지 가수해지 셈 개와인 바 정도 왔어요. 룽아가 넘주 라 콜레지 개와사지 샤유비 인사 디기디 개와수 문두야 문두야 쳐 룽아 개와도 돼야 쳐 이사라 성도 없어. 대리 주산의 디균센 때는 가수익이 셈기 개와 정도 맞으면 융아기 개와서 동안 적었어. 이미 내가 안 한다고지는 그 뒤에는 개몽기 아주 다 용민도다. 대리 셈들랑 또 마음 발이야. 아니 가수에 수간에 주 용미어서 다 이미 내가 아니 셈 나로리야 가수 삼바 삼보 제대로 인사다. 어스면 좋습니다.
These things, the appearances, the physical appearance, it also depends on your own kind of race. Different races have different characteristics. It also has something to do with the environment, maybe, the country, the environment. And then also it has to do something with karma. But the karma has three things, the karma of the body, speech and mind. And karma of body and speech has to do a lot to how you appear. It is said that usually, if you do something good with your body and speech, then that creates the circumstances or conditions to have a better looking body.
But the
positive deed of your body and speech kind of transforms into something. It appears. It transforms into something that can be seen. For instance, it is said that why Sharizik Avalokiteshvara is always smiling. It is said that it's not just that Avalokiteshvara has a good mind, has a very positive mind, but also because he committed so much of this, he did so much positive deeds with the body and speech, that he's always smiling. So therefore, it's not only that your mind has to be in the positive way, but your body and speech, creates the positive deeds, then it is, it's supposed to be very important. For instance, it is said, I usually do not smile much. I don't have a smiley face. So I'm a little worried what kind of look I will have in future. But I think I have a good, kind of positive mind. So I hope it will be okay.
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
What meant the Buddha what is meant by the Buddha when he said that earth was witness of his enlightenment?
아니 상기 가셔야다. 상기 가지 근세소야. 산디 로와 탐지에 가셔. 유다 미교와 서버. 유다 미교에서 주잖아. 소여가 소매가 사면도 다가다 유다 미교에 로와 탐지. 유다 미교와 탐지. 탐지를 꾸려 녀마. 이제 서딘디 토리에 예배 소샤에 내네. 나는 지신 나서라 좀 근용기. 아마도 차리요. 스테니 뉴산 콜을 줄이요. 줄이면 위해서 고방부로 왜 그랬어? 니바데 가라서나 도랑기 가사 같이 상황으로 산디딩도 제베 인사 뭐 산디들랑 가셔다 산디 모셔서 서신 니도도 제베를 마도 제자다 서시디 하고 알아서지 들 소제 안에 서시리야 차 리본 잡을 때네 사실 너무 초도 위에바로 들 총으로 봐. 들 유산디 균세되는 게 섬리야 균세로디 다간다 지 사천부디가 연대로디 조다다지 사천부디 이미지의 사천부를 아주 방법하고야데 요마르데 이미네야 가서 사천부디가 졸지 가서래 뭐니스 토랴 그린 가서 꾸념이 버지다 서신디베 라신이 버지 민주사 근데 바는 조연 유사네 미세가 뉴버진이지 오늘 좀 미직 바는 조금 많이 받아 가서래 or phenomena something 그렇지.
The Buddha said that the earth the earth is the basis of all the beings, moving or unmoving. So therefore, the earth has no preference, it's totally kind of is completely equal to everybody, and therefore it is it's like the mother of everybody. So therefore there is no bias. That's why one reason why earth is taken as a kind of witness. And secondly, it is also that all the positive deeds, all the practices the Buddha did, all the positive things he did, was all done on the earth. So therefore, the earth is the witness to that. So therefore, although generally there is no need to have a witness or anything like that, but to kind of give to make it clear these qualities of the earth, then Buddha said, the earth is my witness. And when he touched the earth, after saying this, then the earth shook in 6 ways, and then whatever happened. So therefore, the earth is something that is unbiased and totally equal to everything, all the phenomena, and also a basis of all. So therefore, it's, I think, taken as the witness.
The last questions.
When half the people at the Möllam are women, and it is the 21st century now, and you spoke so much about Tara and her promise to always be reborn as a woman, how can you hand out such a sutra as the Sutra of Dharani that thoroughly liberates from all sufferings and obscurations, where it states that whenever people who venerate Durgati Shodhana Raja are born, they will have a male body. Some of us don't ever want a male rebirth. Please, can you explain? But that was very good, because in the morning, the Tara, all female, and in the evening, afternoon, all male. So that was very good balance, no?
Yes, somebody that the parent, the Molam parents, Milia parents, Koran, Gundun did Togo, the little parents. Today, you son, Nar Yarlia, Kadija, Yar, permits law servant, Membosha, who's shoot me out of soil, Koran. Jizona, my name, you son, Koran to shoot me out of it, show me the member soil. Today, you son, Kozulia, permit do you all do me inside? Koran to Gundun and give a top of juices. And it is due to a matter of Kashi, and Kaduina, the permission is, gave a touch to this. How about the Gabo permit, Yavacha, the Sally, Abomitus, the Sula. Say the name you son, teacher, and this is Juma. No son gave her. The Kandaraji, Tamashu to give and Tarsan over to Sama gave her. Permit is now today. Today you start digging and then Molam said that he could Tina had the particulars. Go to do. Just all go to Kimber's mother. TV, Molam Nakaiva, Sangi Comparati, Sangi Tembe Comparatition, then Sangi Tembe Takasu. TV, Jimmy, Pomain is so that he gave a little guy, that's Suganas. 이 비싼 디준전의 데네 대심대가서 요마다 심대스게 요마 아니 기세선이 디 도대 양가 대베거래 아니 뭐 교화탄지도 개발 주시 그 측이 되는 데나 세미나는 개발탄지도 분명히 교지로 저는 저거 이나야 가르치는 거라서는 계란주 드라마는 코피 채는 정말라 계란주 거박 미세지 통네 나 분명히 되려야 내 제발 자와 제발 되네 이제 가서 페벌라진지도 이제 랑라야 초화쇼 좀 붙여나 되는 데는 잖아 오늘은 가서 팀무메이 바고는 가서 그 말람 주바베 상계 탐지라야 그러나 다부주주도 투기에는 라수수기다 말람 개발제를 요래 되는 시 주고랬어 마다 지진점에 제장 아들을 제고서 알지 드라마야 코피게 아들 저가 있는 소도
What I think is like this. The benefit of doing positive things is to attain whatever you want, whatever you desire. And therefore you make the same kind of what you want, that kind of prayers you make. In olden days in India, the status of females or the women were low. And in the society they felt that they don't have too much power. So therefore there were many people, many women who didn't want to be women or born as women. But then at that time also, there were some other women, like Tara for instance, who said that she doesn't like this kind of, what can you say, this bias against the woman. So therefore, I would especially want to become all the time, from now onwards, from the time she regenerated bodhicitta till she became enlightened, she will always appear in the form of a female and nothing else. So make that specific, prayer and dedication. So therefore, the prayer is not something that is, prayer is something that you do what you want, what you wish, what is kind of more important and desirable for you. What is written in the prayer is not something that is, that's the Buddhist way of thinking. The prayer is written as the people desire, people want, and that is what you pray for. It's not something that this is found in a Buddhist prayer, so therefore this is the Buddhist view. It's not like that. This has to be very clearly understood. You can pray whatever you want. For instance, although this whatever may be written in that particular prayer,
text,
sutra,
dharana.
Yeah, dharana or sutra, you don't have to worry about that. Although it is said in that dharana like that, if you wish that, oh yes, then you can pray that may all men become women. and really pray like that in your heart. But it's not just because somebody did it, like Tara did something like that, and so I must do it. It's not like that. You must have good reasons. You must, why it should be like that, and what are the benefits of this. And so if you see clearly that benefit, and then if you really want it, and if you really, feel the, need and the benefit for it, then yes, you can do that. You can pray whatever way you really want it. So this is very important to understand.
We will start with the long life prayer at the bottom of the inside pages, in English. May the noble lady wish-fulfilling wheel completely quell the obstacles that come in the glorious Gyalwan Karmapa's difficult year, and make it so he lives for many eons.
Sarvapa Pasya Karanam Jararu Jamir